Seam heads, our Giants game day coverage begins now.
It's the mosaic.
So before gloves start popping,
diving, he makes the catch,
and bats start cracking,
it is gone!
We bring you the voice of Bay Area baseball for the past 29 years.
As I always say, baseball reflects what life is all about.
This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie.
That's what we do. We talk ball.
On KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to be with you on this Saturday as we get ready for a doubleheader. Yes, a traditional doubleheader today, the Giants and the Rockies. The first game starting about 4:15 or so, and then a concert in between, and a second game about 45 minutes after the first game ends. A traditional doubleheader. Boy, haven't seen one of these in a long time. So if you're coming out to the park today, you will love it. It's going to be a lot of fun today, a lot of baseball today. Well, the mosaic, and I know we say that in the open all the time, but boy, is it true. You never know where a baseball season is going to go. It has so many ups and downs and peaks and valleys, and you're in that valley, and all of a sudden you got the Colorado Rockies in town, and it is like clockwork for the San Francisco Giants. Once the Rockies get into San Francisco, good things happen and makes you feel a lot better. And this mosaic of the season, who knows where it's going to end up. It's still got a long way to go. The Giants have played 105 games. They've got 57 more, and still very much in this wild card race. For whatever that's worth, they are very much in it. So there's still a lot of baseball left to be played, and we'll talk about that today. But for the Rockies, they come into town, and the Giants just wallop them last night. Giants coming off a very rough road trip coming out of the break, and this is trouble for them. Out of the break, they're now 3-5. Losing 2 or 3 in Colorado last week, and then 3 or 4 to the Dodgers. And all these games are close. All these games are close because the Giants have pitching, and they have significant starting pitching. We'll see what Farhan does with this starting pitching. This is a very, very interesting time of a baseball season. I've said it for many years. It's up to the players for the first 4 months to see what they can do to get the team in a position to do something. When it comes to the trade deadline, it's up to the front office to do their thing and do it very accurately with skill to develop a ball club that is now much improved if they can. And that's where the spotlight is now with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday. The spotlight is now on Farhan, on Pete Petula, and Zach Manassian, and everyone else in that front office to figure out just what this ball club is all about, what's ahead of them, what they could get on the trade market, if anything, that's worth it, or should they stand pat and just play the season out? We've seen it before. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do up to Tuesday. But the Rockies come into town at the right time for the Giants. Giants win it last night 11-4 in a very, very dramatic way, really, for me. First of all, Kyle Harrison continues his mastery of the Colorado Rockies. He's faced them 4 times this year, 23 innings, 4 earned runs given up. Like Hayden Birdsong, who will pitch the second game today, he completely dominated the Rockies last night with a strikeout. 6 2/3 innings for Harrison last night, a run, 2 walks, and 11 strikeouts for him. 23 innings this year against the Rockies. He's only given up 4 earned runs, and he looks strong. Having those couple of weeks off, good for him in the middle of the season. Logan Webb may need that too. Logan Webb struggled again against the Dodgers this week, and he's missing by a lot. It's one thing to have his stuff and it's over the plate, not over the plate, but boy, he's missing by a couple of feet, and you just wonder what's going on with him. But for Harrison last night, he was terrific. And as I say, Snell will pitch the first game today. We'll talk about him. And Birdsong, the second game today against the Rockies. The Giants are 7-3 against the Rockies now. They've won 9 straight in San Francisco. This is not the first time they've done this. They've done it a number of times over the years, beating them 9 in a row, 11 in a row, what have you. And for some reason, the Rockies come out of Denver and that thin air, and they get on the road, and if this is their first stop, they cannot do anything. We've seen it so many times. Giants have won something like 24 of the last 29 against the Rockies here in San Francisco. Soler started off last night with his 12th home run of the year. When he hits him, there is no doubt. Isn't that the truth? When he hits him and he stands there and watches, you know you don't need a home run call. You don't need someone to tell you it's back to the wall, it's gone. No, you don't need that. Just look at him. When he hits it and he knows it, he just stands there and looks at it. And he did that last night off Kyle Freeland in the first inning and got the Giants off to a good start. His 12th, 418 feet last night into the left field bleachers. Kyle Freeland was all over the place, but he's strong, but the umpire didn't help him last night. The Giants got some good swings against him. Still, the Giants strike out a lot. And in July, they're the third most striking out team in the league or baseball, whatever it may be. They still strike out a lot, and Freeland struck out 3 in a row with a runner on third base and nobody out and that kind of stuff. But the Giants went to the long ball last night, and they went to the long ball with the kid who has carried them all week, and that is Tyler Fitzgerald. And I'm happy to say we were on this early, that Fitzgerald should play. He's got speed, he's got power, and as he says, he's seeing the ball really well right now. 2 more home runs for him last night. His 7th and 8th. He's got 7 homers in 8 games. It's Barry Bonds territory. When you look at shortstops that have done this exclusively as a shortstop, you're looking at A-Rod, you're looking at Ernie Banks, people like that. He's gotten an extra base hit in 8 straight games. He's tied the great Hack Wilson, and we'll talk about Hack Wilson, I'm sure, as the show goes on today, who played for the New York Giants in 1924 as a rookie. He did this. He's in the territory of Ted Williams, Hal Trosky, who was a great first baseman for the Cleveland Indians then in the 30s, and Bo Bichette for the Toronto Blue Jays, who's really having a tough season. He did this as well. But Fitzgerald with 2 big home runs last night and drove in 4. And then we come to Ramos, who just iced the game last night with a 3-run shot for him. And that was number 15 for him. And that put the Giants up 11-3 and gave up a run late there. Duvall gave up a run late, and Bauman gave up a couple of runs. And they end up winning the game 11-4. But the long ball was all over the place last night. And the top of the order, the first 3 in the order, 8 for 13 with 10 RBIs, 4 home runs. How about that for the top of the order last night? And that is Soler, Fitzgerald, and Ramos. So did a great job last night. With all that going on, the Giants are now 18-19 against the West. They've got to do better against the West. And at home, 29-22. That's 51 games. There's only 30 more to go. 30 more to go. At home, July, they're 9-11. As I said, after the break, 3-5. Colorado on the road, and this is the problem for Colorado since day one, 14-37 on the road, and they've got 3 more, 2 today against the Giants, and of course 1 tomorrow. Then we can say goodbye to Colorado until next year. In baseball, we've got trades going on today. We had a trade already. Pearson from Toronto is going to the Cubs to fortify that bullpen. Sir Anthony Dominguez went to the Orioles from the Phillies. Yimi Garcia went to the Mariners. Randy Arozarena from Tampa Bay. How about that? He went to Seattle as well. Zach Eflin went to the Orioles. A.J. Puck went to Arizona to help that bullpen. Arizona, we'll talk about them. They are playing good ball. And Paxton, who the Dodgers DFA'd last week, ended up with the Boston Red Sox. So things are happening. Will the Giants get involved? There are rumors all over the place. A couple of things. First, I want to say this. There are 5 teams now that I would say are in legitimate contention for 3 spots. And I'm going to say it's the Mets who are playing the best baseball in the major league since June. Atlanta, they're still the Atlanta Braves. They've fallen apart. The Mets have now jumped them into the 4th spot in the wild card. San Diego, they've won 6 straight. Profar, 2 homers last night for him. This kid is having an amazing season. San Diego's now hot again. They've won 6 straight. Cease had the no-hitter against Washington. Arizona came back 3-0 last night. They came back to beat a good Pittsburgh team 4-3. Gurriel had a good game last night. Marte is still doing well. Jock Peterson hit home run number 200 this week, 201 last night, and they end up winning the game 4-3. And then the Giants. I'd say those 5 teams, the Mets, Atlanta, San Diego, Arizona, and San Francisco. I think Cincinnati, and they did win yesterday 3-2. They got a win yesterday 3-2. Lodolo did all right. They have been very, very inconsistent, and I don't trust them. Pittsburgh, the pitching has been terrific, but the hitting is not, and it's still Pittsburgh. They may be a year early, and I don't know what they're going to do with Skeens and shut him down or not or what have you. And then St. Louis is a team built around Arenado and Goldschmidt and a number of left-handed hitters, but the pitching staff is an older pitching staff as we get, really, there's 55, 57 games to go. Things happen. I've been down these pennant races before. You've got to have strong pitching, some young players to make it through July, August, and September, and we're just about into August. So Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, I'm going to put in the let's see category. And out of it, the Cubs, they're never going to get back in it. Of course, I said that about the Mets about 2 months ago. And Washington, I'd say they can be pesky, but they're not going to end up in this thing. So the Giants at 55 losses are 7 losses behind the Mets with 55 to go. And it is still a game of pitching. And what we saw from the Giants this week with Robbie Ray, that is Robbie Ray. That's the way he pitches. He'll come at you like an animal for 5 innings, 5 1/3, 4 2/3. Everything he's got, he will throw at you. And he parlayed that into a Cy Young with the Blue Jays. But this is the Robbie Ray I remember with the Diamondbacks. This is what he would do against the Giants. He'd go 4 or 5 innings, and they'd get him out of there, and he'd throw as hard as he can. He's terrific. Snell goes today. 2, 3 great games for Snell. Does he have a market? Absolutely. Is it a complicated market? Absolutely, because of his contract. But you put Snell on the Orioles, and you put Duvall on the Orioles with him, because Kimbrel is not going to be the guy who's going to win a pennant for the Baltimore Orioles. They can win a pennant here in the American League. They haven't done it since 1983. You package Snell and Duvall to Baltimore, and you can get some players back that you can plug into this lineup and still have a very strong team going down the stretch. So we'll see what the Giants are going to do. They are still very much in this thing, but it's up to Farhan to come up with some controllable players. A bat. He needs a bat in this lineup. Move Soler back into the middle of the lineup. Get the top of the order if his Wade is still here, and Fitzgerald at the top, and then get the big boppers coming up after that. The Giants can do some damage, and they can pitch, and they still have bullpen here. So I'm not going to say they're going to get it done, but with 2 months to go, this is what a baseball season is all about. I've been down this road so many times in my life. I've studied baseball. I know it. You can be 5 back, 7 backs. Heck, the Giants were 13 back of the Dodgers in 1951, which is a long time ago, and they came back and tied the Dodgers, and Bobby Thompson hit the home run to win the pennant. So much can happen. They did it in 62 against the Dodgers. They were, 4 back with 6 to go and ended up tying them and won the playoff in 62 as well. These things happen in baseball. You can't ever give up. And there's just too many games left to play. So I know everyone is negative, and let's go, Farhan attracts some negative attention. And let's face it, after all the time on the job, he hasn't really produced that winner yet. And people are sort of signifying him with the loss or the frustration of the season. Well, that may be the case, but the way to get out of it is to be an aggressive general manager and really truly evaluate your players and come up with something that works here. All right, that's what I got to say this morning. Still a lot of baseball left to be played. The Rockies are here. Two with the Rockies today, Feltner and Tanner Gordon. Both of them are very vulnerable against two very strong pitchers for the Giants today, Blake Snell and Hayden Burnsong. All right, George Kontos joins us next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Experience the epitome of luxury and craftsmanship with Inicio Windows and Doors, another exciting product line from BMD Manufacturing. Inicio Windows and Doors sets the standard in ultra-premium European design. Wow, for the most demanding American building standards. Available both in steel and aluminum, they are meticulously engineered to elevate your living space to new heights of sophistication. Learn more about Inicio Windows and Doors today. Discover the perfect blend of European beauty and style with unwavering durability and strength. Visit InicioWindows.com. INICIO Windows.com. Inicio Windows and Doors, where European design meets American craftsmanship. Vance Bridge Bank delivers their clients full relationship banking, including treasury management solutions and global market services. Bridge Bank offers financing solutions to businesses for their working capital, equipment, and real estate needs. This is very important in today's world. Fred Voss is the Senior Managing Director of Bridge Bank's commercial lending efforts in Northern California. He has commercial banking teams in San Jose with Jesse Garcia, San Francisco, Oakland, Cheeto Cordova, and in Pleasanton. Bridge Bank, it's like banking at home. I can't say enough about it.
2-2 the count. And there's a swing, and there's a shot. Deep left center field, way back there. Goodbye! Another home run for Tyler Fitzgerald. His second home run of the game. There's something he hadn't done yet in terms of the long ball. Fitzgerald now with his 8th home run of the season.
Prepping you for today's orange and black ball game, we now take you back to Talking Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us as we get ready for a doubleheader today. We're joined by George Kontos, who is an analyst for NBC Sports Bay Area. George, how are you?
I'm great, Marty. Thanks for having me on.
No, come on, man. I'm glad to have you on. And we used to do this all the time, and two-time World Series champion for you. How do you explain Tyler Fitzgerald and the week that this young man is having?
You know, we've been talking about it on the pre-games and the post-games, and I'm done trying to explain it, and I'm just along for the ride as everybody else is. But, you know, the month of July that he's having has just been obviously historical, putting himself in categories that only Barry Bonds is in the organization's history. So he's just doing such a great job, and we've interviewed him a couple times on the post-game show, and he's just such a humble kid and really appreciates the opportunity that he's been given, and he's really going out there and maximizing it. But if he continues this for a few more days, you know, you're talking about a National League Player of the Month in July potentially.
Wow. You know, I said it on the Open today. When Soler hits him, you don't need a commentator to say, back to the wall, is it going, gone? You just have to look at him. When he hits it, just look at him. He knows they're gone. He doesn't miss.
No, he doesn't. He's hitting the ball really hard, and he's just doing a really good piece of hitting right now, hitting the ball where it's pitched, taking mistakes, going the other way, doing a lot of things right, and it's been great to see.
All right, so where does he end up in the lineup, George? And I've talked about this for so many weeks now. He just doesn't look like a leadoff hitter to me. I mean, Bobby Bonds was way back in the 60s and 70s a great leadoff hitter that could steal bases and hit home runs. But don't the Giants need Soler in the middle of this lineup at some point?
You know, Marty, I think, you know, you and I view the game very similarly. I think when you have a bat of that type of power, and, you know, you didn't sign him to that contract to hit leadoff. And I understand why he was put in the leadoff position, to kind of get him going, take a little bit of pressure and stress off of him from being in the middle of the lineup. Maybe he was pressing a little bit, trying to create too much. But, I mean, geez, the last, I think, 2 games, he's been on base almost 10 times or 9 times. He's been doing a great job. He looks like he's seeing the ball better. He's a middle-of-the-lineup bat. You signed him to have him hit in the middle of your lineup somewhere and potentially hit you 30 home runs a year. And I think now that he's gotten back on track, there's a guy who has emerged who we were just talking about, Tyler Fitzgerald, who I think would be fantastic in the leadoff spot and getting those extra ABs. And you can slide everybody down in the lineup, or up, for example, and you can put Jorge Soler in that 4th, 5th, 6th spot and get a little bit more length out of the middle of that lineup.
Well, I like it. We've been saying it for a month. I'm glad that we're talking the same language here. Where is this ball club at right now? And, George, look, I've watched baseball for a long time. You're a 2-time World Series champion. You've won pennants. The Giants are chasing 3 spots, essentially wild card spots. And there are 5 teams that I think are really bunched up with them. They're really 8 or 10 if you want to include everybody. But where do the Giants fit into this whole thing, knowing this ball club right now?
Well, look, we're kind of at a fork in the road, obviously. The thing that the team has not had really going for them is they haven't been healthy. And on top of them not being healthy in the rotation and having some injuries throughout the lineup, throughout the course of the first 4 months of the season, the offense has not really been firing on all cylinders together. And, we saw obviously what they're capable of doing yesterday with that offensive explosion, and they're beating up on the Colorado Rockies at home, which they have a recent history of doing. They've now won 8 consecutive matches at Oracle Park against the Colorado Rockies. I just fear that it might be a little bit too little too late with where they're at. I mean, you have the Diamondbacks and the Padres that are ahead of you, and intra-division. You have other teams that you are not going to be playing anymore this season, where you're going to need help from whoever they're playing to beat them so you can jump them. But we're in a very interesting spot. I mean, you got, I think, 5 guys in that lineup offensively that are hitting well above the league average in OPS plus. And now you're going to be getting this starting rotation that looks like it could be very, very nasty and tough to beat when you have Logan Webb and Blake Snell, and Robbie Ray came back with an exclamation point, making his season debut at Dodger Stadium, punching out 8 guys and giving up no hits. He did fantastic. You're going to get Alex Cobb back. Hayden Birdsong, who's pitching the second game of the doubleheader today, has been a very, very pleasant surprise coming in and doing really well. I think we'll probably see Jordan Hicks go to the bullpen at some point just to be able to control his innings. And I wouldn't want to face those guys in a postseason series when you're lining up your pitching rotation with those 3-4 starters and what the back end of the bullpen could end up looking like.
Well, George, the way I see it, the Mets are playing the best baseball in the league right now, in the majors right now since June. I think they're something like 31-13. Atlanta, with all the injuries, and heck, you've been on teams that get banged up. It's just not their year, and it could be the case with the Braves here, as they've slipped behind the Mets. San Diego and Arizona are streaky teams, but they're good. They're very good teams right now. For me, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and St. Louis are the ones that are very vulnerable. And I think if you can jump over those teams, you can make a run at what's left in this wild card. So with that in mind, what does Farhan do? Does he see it that way, or does he see, look, I've got Blake Snell. If I trade him to the Orioles, I know I'll get something back, but maybe the Orioles can win a pennant for the first time in 40 years. What does Farhan do here? How does he evaluate this?
Well, look, it's tough, obviously. Being in Farhan's shoes right now is no easy task. I mean, he said a couple weeks ago, this team will dictate the direction that we're going to go. And then coming out of the All-Star break, obviously they came out looking a little bit lethargic from those days off, and only scoring 9 runs in Colorado and then having a little bit of a blunder down at Chavez Ravine. But look, yesterday was a little bit of a optimistic view on what the team is capable of doing. And looking at these standings, I mean, St. Louis is 53-50, and the Giants are 50-55. So they're not that far behind. They're going to have 2 games that they're going to have to play, and who knows what could happen when St. Louis catches up in the amount of games played. It could be 2 losses, and it bundles them up even more. So I definitely don't think if the direction of the team was to make a move to better the ball club in some capacity and make a run at this thing, I think a good week of baseball puts us right back into conversation of looking up at only Arizona and San Diego, who they play multiple times still to end the season. So it's definitely interesting. I think that if Farhan did view it as, maybe we'll move a piece or 2 to get something back in return, but still try to make a run at it, that might be something that he's trying to think about. But what I could definitely not see happening, because I don't know that the fans would really appreciate a full gut clean house. I don't see them just getting rid of everybody and kind of starting all over for next year. That's something that I don't think will happen. I think that if the next 3 games, the 2 today and tomorrow, if the Giants are able to win all 3 or go 2-1 and really position themselves looking like they're playing better baseball, I think that makes Farhan's job a little bit easier, because he doesn't want to sell. He doesn't want to break up this team. He wants to try to push forward and put a better team on the field and get to the playoffs. And the addition of this 3rd wild card team makes it, I don't want to say easier, but there's an avenue that allows you to get to the postseason that wasn't there in prior years. So I think it'll be these next 3 games, the 2 today and tomorrow, are going to be very interesting and are going to be very eye-opening before that trade deadline on Tuesday.
All right. Now, we haven't talked about Duvall yet. Look, you're a bullpen guy, and you've closed in your life. You've started. I remember when you were with the Yankees, the Edge as a starter for a while. But let's talk Duvall a little bit, because he's another trade piece for me. And I said this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, that I think that if I'm Farhan, I would dangle him out there. Duvall he sort of does it, doesn't do it. What would you do with Duvall?
You know, the thing with Camilo is you know the potential, and we've seen the potential, right? Like, he was an all-star. He can be devastating when he comes out and is consistent. The thing that we've seen from him is his inability to locate his pitches consistently, which is what gets him into trouble. And, you know, I know we call him Tranquilo Camilo, and he doesn't show much emotion and all that. I want to see emotion from my guy at the last inning. I would love to see him come out and just have a little attitude and swag. And I know that's not his personality, and everyone has to go about it their own way. But the full underlying thing for me on Camilo is his inconsistency with his command. And when you throw 100 miles an hour plus and you're not locating it, hitting, even when you throw that hard and you have that good of stuff, becomes a little bit easier when the strike zone starts to get smaller and smaller because you're not getting ahead in counts. You know, his slider is great. We saw a couple really good sliders that had the bottom fall out of them yesterday. And we've seen him go out there and be able to locate his fastball in all four quadrants. I think for him to be the elite closer that he has shown that he has that ability at times, he's shown those flashes of brilliance. He just needs to get more consistent. You can't be going in there in those one-run ball games and giving free passes or not covering first, things that we practice in spring training and that should be just ingrained in our DNA as pitchers. That's no matter how good your stuff is, this league is still too good. And those guys who are standing 60 feet, 6 inches away with sticks in their hands, their focus in the ninth inning gets a little bit more narrow. And that's why those last 3 outs, historically, in a save situation, are so difficult to get because everyone locks in a little bit more. So the talent is obviously there for Camilo, and I think that he's a guy who has proven that he can do it. I just need to see a little bit more consistency out of him. And if Farhan decided that he was a trade chip, which he would be if he was made available, if he can make a good deal and get someone back that'll better the team, you don't know what he's going to do. He might take it, but it's interesting. It's an interesting conundrum with Camilo because of the very ebb and flows of his last 2 years, where he was an all-star, and then this year it's kind of people might hold their breath a little bit when he comes into those close games.
Yeah, I would move him. I would, if in the right deal, if you can get something significant back for him. Snell is a complicated situation because of the contract, like Carlos Rodon a couple of years ago, so we'll see what happens there. But the Giants have a lot of starting pitching. George, what is the attitude in a clubhouse with 4 or 5 days to go, and do they sell, do they buy? Conforto's name is out there, and Mike Yastrzemski's name. Heck, the Brewers lost Yelich. They need a left-handed hitting outfielder. Yaz would fit that. The Mets are looking for a left-handed outfielder. Conforto could go home. What's the attitude like? What's the vibe in a clubhouse this time of year?
There's definitely an added layer of cloud of thought. Everyone's a little bit hesitant. You can feel the kind of stress and energy during this time because it's inevitable that something is going to happen, and you don't know what it is yet. But those days leading up, I mean, I remember we were at Dodger Stadium in 2017, and I remember it was the day before the trade deadline, and we were at Dodger Stadium. I'm in the bullpen, and we come in after the game, and Nick Hundley and I, from what I was told, were a package B to the Cubs before they got Justin Wilson and Avila from the Detroit Tigers to go to the Cubs. And you hold your breath because you start hearing these things, and we were the B package, the A package went, and there's a lot of emotion that goes into this because you breaking up a family, and I know that you've heard us talk about it a lot, especially with our teams that I was on from 12 through 17. You guys we're brothers, and it's a family. You see these guys every single day, more so than you see your own family throughout the course of the baseball season, and there's a strong possibility that a guy or two or three may not be there in a few days, and that's always difficult to kind of wrap your head around. But until the trade deadline comes, I think showing up to the field, there's definitely an energy. You feel that something's a little bit, walking on eggshells in the room. But once the first pitch is thrown in between the white lines, it's all business and trying to win a ball game again. So that's kind of how the days leading up to the trade deadline go.
What do you think about the doubleheader today? How do you get ready for something like this if you're a bullpen guy? Can you pitch in both games today?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I did it in 2013 in St. Louis. I pitched in both ends of the doubleheader. But, this is good old-fashioned baseball. This hasn't been done, I don't think, a scheduled doubleheader in 26 years, I think was the number that had happened. But, you go in there, you prepare the same way. You're going to go through game one. You're going to finish game one, and instead of going home and eating your post-game spread, you're going to regroup and re-strap it on, take a shower, get your uniform on, and go back out there for the night game of the doubleheader. And, it makes a long day for a guy like me going into the studio having to do 3 shows instead of just a pre and a post. But it's, good old-fashioned baseball. You get 2 games for the price of 1 ticket. For the fans, I think it's great getting to spend the whole day at the ballpark and getting to see 2 ball games. It makes you kind of reminisce a little bit about the old way of baseball.
Yeah, I like it. As a reliever, though, let me ask you this one. Can you go back to back? I mean, why can't you? If you throw, 1 inning in a first game, can't you come back 3 hours later and throw another inning?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I did it in 2013 in St. Louis. It was we had a rain out the day before, so we had a scheduled doubleheader on if I remember correctly, it was getaway day, and I pitched in the first game of the doubleheader. I think I threw the 7th or 8th inning. I gave up 1 run. I think we won that game. And then Rags came up to me afterwards in between games. He's like, "How you feeling?" And I was a little bit irked and irritated that I gave up that run. So I was like, if my spot comes up and you need me, I'm good to go. And sure enough, I pitched in the second game of the doubleheader as well, threw an inning, and I think I got out of that one putting up a 0, which was great. Kind of redeemed myself a little bit. Got that second inning in the same day, but it was one of those things where I was very fortunate in the way that my body always responded, where I could handle the workload, and I always took care of myself. Kept my arm in really good shape, knock on wood, and tried to keep myself in good shape, so I was able to do that. I know Camilo, again, I think he did it last year maybe. He pitched in both ends of a doubleheader that they had, and he got to save in both games, and he's a strong guy. So it's just it's a mentality of not shutting it down after the first game and just thinking, oh, I have the second game off. You got to be ready, got to go through your routine, and if the spot comes up again, I think most guys are willing to take the ball.
Georgie, you remind me of Robbie Ray. Ray just comes at you. I remember with Arizona, just everything he had, 4 1/3, 5 1/3, whatever it was, he came at you. You were the same way on the mound. You would just come right at the hitters.
Yeah, that's all I knew. I kind of just went out there and didn't want to really nitpick. I came at it with whatever stuff I had that day. Some days it was a good slider. The other days I relied on a cutter. But I just tried to go and attack the zone and try to get guys out as quickly as possible, and usually that strategy worked.
Yeah, am I right about Ray though? 4 1/3, 5 1/3, everything you got, right?
He's great. I mean, we faced him when he was in Arizona, obviously earlier in his career, but now that he's here on our side, getting to watch him a little bit, and obviously the first time he threw was just the other day at Dodger Stadium, but I really, really like how he goes about it. He's not your average starting pitcher. He's a guy that has primarily 2 pitches, but he tunnels them so well, and that fastball just has such life to it, and he hides it well by the way that when he comes up to his balance point, he kind of shows the hitter his back. That ball looks like, up to the hitter, it looks like it's coming right out of his ear, and it's got that good light, that jump to it, which makes it play up. 94, 96, probably looking a little bit harder than that. Then he throws that 90, 92-mile-an-hour slider right off of that same slot. He's just really good, and he has a ton of confidence, and he's not afraid, and I love that. I love when a guy is on the mound, and they're just like, here's my best stuff. If you can hit it, great. If not, I'm good with it.
Yeah, man, good description. George, great to have you on today. You're doing a great job on TV. We love having you on the radio, too. So have a good day today, and we'll talk to you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Talk to you soon.
All right, that is George Kontos. You can catch him on the Giants pregame or postgame on NBC Sports Bay Area. More coming up. Mark Simon, Sports Info Solutions, next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Vance Gene Pagano checked in from the Tides up in Bodega Bay, and he said that while it's been hot inland, we know that, temperatures have been quite comfortable out on the coast, ranging from the mid-60s into the low 70s. At the Tides restaurant, patrons have a wide variety of choices ranging from delicious seafood salads and pastas to the ever-popular fried calamari and grilled fish. If you're planning a trip to the beach, the Tides Fish Market offers a great selection of food and beverage items, perfect for picnicking, while across the hall, just go into the gift shop. They have whatever apparel you need, from swimsuits to beach towels, anything you might need for that excursion. And if you're looking to stay for a day or two just across the Highway 1, the Inn at the Tides with its large, comfortable rooms, all with a view of the bay, is waiting for you. So if you're looking to get away and escape the heat, you need to look no further than the Tides Wharf and then the Inn at the Tides in scenic Bodega Bay. Just a quick note about the rooftop restaurant at the Via Hotel, the Hotel Via across the street from the park. They do a wide variety of events on the rooftop, from weddings and birthdays to corporate retreats and special events, holiday events, and any other special occasion you can think of. With stunning 360 views of the skyline, Bay Bridge, East Bay, and of course Oracle Park, the rooftop at Via is truly one of the most unique event venues in San Francisco.
Mark Simon. Mark, I love you, man.
Oh, no! All right, as we get ready for Giants baseball doubleheader today, Giants made it official, and they called up Hayden Birdsong to pitch the second game today. I think it's Tanner Gordon pitching for the Rockies today. We'll find out a little bit more about him. He has not had a very successful Major League career in his 2 starts. And then Spencer Bivens is back, and Michael Baumann, who pitched last night, has been designated for assignment, so he got his 1 game in, and Bivens is back. And there's an oh no by Jerry Seinfeld, who's the big Met fan, but the Mets are the best team in baseball. The Mets are the best team in baseball since June, and that's Mark Simon's team. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, craziness. I think that they look very, very good. And I think that if you look at the rest of the sport at the moment, I was just watching the highlight shows this morning and seeing a lot of teams losing by kind of stumbling all over themselves. Braves, Yankees, there are others. There seems to be a very select group now of teams that at this moment, in time specifically, like right now, are really, really good. And I think you have Baltimore's in there. And the Phillies have had a little bump. The Dodgers have had bumps all over the place. But the Mets seem to be creeping up toward that point. Lineup's really good, too. I think that's the most impressive thing. They did have their oh no moment yesterday, though, with Kodai Senga. First game back. Pitched great. 5 range, 2 hits. Boom. Done. Out for the rest of the regular season.
You know, it's funny. Mark Simon with us, of course, Sports Info Solutions. Mark is the best in the country at breaking down this part of baseball. You look at the leaders in the divisions, everybody's kind of having trouble right now. I mean, the Phillies are not playing good ball right now. They're desperate. They even brought in an outfielder from the Orioles who's got 3 homers, 14 RBIs this year, Austin Hayes. You look at them. You look at in the Central, the Brewers, certainly they've lost Yelich now, probably for the season. They still need pitching. The Dodgers, my goodness, Freddie Freeman was sent home. I hope everything's all right with his family. His son is not doing well. Look at the Orioles. Come on. And the Yankees, they lose every day. And the Red Sox, Bucky Dent is getting ready. He's coming back. And then... Come on, and maybe Cleveland, although they don't score much. They had a good game last night against the Phillies with Ben Lively. And look at Seattle and Houston, and Houston's desperate for a pitcher. Isn't it funny? Just about every division, the leader is struggling.
I would agree with that. And I think that if you looked at it right now and you said that, good pitching is going to win in postseason, who are the teams that you would necessarily say that about? I think you would say that about the Phillies. If their starting rotation was healthy. I think you could say it about Seattle, but that lineup is very weak, very, very weak. They're not even hitting 220 for the season. Their OPS is like 660. And I think maybe you would say that about Cleveland because the bullpen is so good. I don't know that you would necessarily say that about the Orioles. You could, but I don't necessarily know. And that's why I would say, good things about the Mets. That the Mets have a lineup. The Mets have a lineup right now that can hit with anybody, and that's going to knock a lot of those, I think, mid-level teams down. And that's why I would, at this moment in time, a lot of things can still happen. This moment in time, I think things look pretty good for them.
Yeah, and I would say this, and I tell this to everybody every year, and I have to do it in the playoffs, and things change quickly in baseball, especially this time of year. This is when the pennant races really heat up. And Ken Korach pointed this out to me a couple of days ago. When you're 5 back or 6 back in August, you can't lose 7 of 8 because then you're really cooked. You've got to keep coming and keep that pedal to the metal, so to speak. And we're going to see that in August with some of these teams that start to make a run at it, but you got to keep it going. So I think we're in for a heck of a couple of months, and people have to remember this is not football, or it's not your favorite sport of hockey where things change in the playoffs every other second. This is a baseball season that takes forever, and there's still a lot more to go. All right, let's talk about Tyler Fitzgerald and what's going on with him. And come on, 7 homers, 8 games, whatever it is, 8 homers, 7 games. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. And right now, I think what's just happening for him is if a pitch is in the middle of the plate, he's not missing it, and he's hitting it really hard and really far. He doesn't necessarily hit a lot of other stuff, but if it's in that middle third of the plate, he's just crushing it. A couple of tidbits. One is that he has 8 homers this season. His career high in college was 8. I thought that was kind of funny. And then I was trying to – I like the historical perspective. As you know, I'm not all about the analytics necessarily. And I was looking for, like, the best Willie Mays stretch. And in 1965, when Willie hit, I think it's 51, 52 home runs, he had in August 7 homers in 7 games. Then he went hitless 3 games straight, and then he homered in 6 in a row. So he wound up with 13 and 16 games, which is absurd. And if Tyler Fitzgerald can do that, then I would be really impressed. For now, I'll just be impressed. But if he could go 13 and 16, I'd be really impressed. It's cool. The other thing that I was looking for was I was looking for guys that weren't known names that did something like this. And I'm thinking, like, what is that, like Kevin Mensch or something like that?
Sure, remember that.
I think it's really cool when someone does it. And that's what the baseball season, that happens. They're going to be, over the course of the baseball season, you're going to get the Ronald Blanco throws a no-hitter. You're going to get that Tyler Fitzgerald does something really cool. And I think that's one of the things that people really like about the sport. And it's something that I really like about the sport.
How about Travis Hafner? I remember him. He went wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wound up having a decent career, too.
Yeah, I love Travis. And they made a candy bar after him. Remember that?
Yeah.
They did. He gave me one. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that Travis Hafner. I liked him.
Can I get back to what you were saying about
sure.
Please do. The postseason scenario? It seemed like when you were talking to George that you were talking about the Giants from the perspective of being potentially being buyers. And I really don't know about that because right now, if the Giants wanted to make the playoffs, I think they need 85 wins. And to win 85 games, they have to play at a 99-win pace for the rest of the season. And I know you're optimistic about Robbie Ray and Blake Snell and Alex Cobb coming back and Logan and all this. I just don't see it. I think that's too much to overcome. Prove me wrong. I could be wrong. I was wrong on the 2015 Mets. But I would be. I'm a little more pessimistic. I think I bring the pessimism to Georgia.
No, that's okay. When I always say when you can pitch and throw someone out there every day like this. Now, why can't they move Snell and or Duvall and get someone back and still compete and still make a move? With getting somebody, so that they're selling an asset or two, but they're getting something back that actually helps them compete. Why can't they do that?
So you want to do the Philly-Baltimore trade of Domingos for Austin Hayes that you were just talking about a second ago. I don't know that that's there. I think it would be good for them to further replenish the farm system a little bit if they wanted to trade off one or two of those guys. And I think right now, off of what you've seen from Blake Snell the last couple of times out, that you could probably get something pretty decent for him.
Yeah.
If you wanted.
He can win a pennant. He can win a pennant. He can win a pennant for Houston.
Yep. He could. He could. There are a bunch of teams that I think would like to have him right now. I think the Mets would probably like to have him right now.
Yeah. No, I think there's a market there, but you get something back. Because Snell was probably going to opt out anyway. So, I don't know. I would think about it. All right, let's talk Jorge Soler a little bit. We don't need John Miller to say it's adios pelota. When this guy hits him, you just got to watch him after the swing. He will tell you when it's gone.
Yes. Hey, look, he's had 2 good games in a row, which I know for you is like a really big deal. Based on what we were talking about like last week. Yes, he's had 2 good games in a row. Boy, he is like a different hitter when he doesn't chase. And the last 6-7 games or so, he hasn't chased. And he's getting hits on breaking balls that hang. And when he does hit the ball, he hits the ball very hard. And his numbers against fastballs are still, they're not like bad. They're pretty decent. at this point. So good things for him, the kind of things that you would hope he could show the next 50 or 60 games to make a little bit of a push.
What do you say about this trade deadline in general? Are we going to see a lot more action? Will the Mets get involved now with Senga? Probably he's got the calf injury. He's going to be out probably for a month or so if it's a pull.
Yeah, I would be a voter on the Mets to say, hey, go for it a little bit and try and get a starting pitcher. And at this point, I guess Jack Flaherty is maybe the best that you can do, because you're like Tarek Skubal. People were saying, oh, maybe he'd be available. I don't think he's going to be available. But I think there are guys that are on expiring contracts like Flaherty, who's had a nice prove-it kind of year in Detroit. That's someone that a team could get. I think the curious thing would be, like, what does a team like the Braves do? Because the Braves are fading, and they're fading pretty fast, and they have a lot of guys hurt. And if they were at full strength, they would probably have 60 wins by now. But they're probably sitting it out. I would imagine that, like, the Cardinals will buy. I would imagine that the Pirates won't. I would imagine that the Padres would buy. I would imagine that the Diamondbacks would buy. I think it's based on what I was saying before about the only team really having great pitching in the National League that could stop you being the Phillies. I think there are going to be some teams that are going to want to take a shot. You don't necessarily want to go too crazy, but I think there are teams that can add at the margins and add something pretty decent.
And what about the Dodgers? Come on,
Yeah.
we saw the Dodgers this week. I'm sorry that once you get past a couple of hitters, they're cooked, and their pitching is definitely not the same.
Yeah, and they're very reliant on these younger guys like the Gavin Stones and the Landon Knacks, and it's hard to know what you're going to get from
River
them.
Ryan.
Yeah, and they're an interesting curiosity. You would figure that they'll be going for it pretty hard. Like I would think every year they would be going for it pretty hard. But I still think that it's there to be gotten for a lot of teams if they want to take a shot at it.
What about the White Sox guy, Crochet? Did you see what he said about, I'm only going to pitch so many innings and I want a new contract if I'm going to pitch in the postseason?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to play it. That's for sure. I'm surprised that that this sort of thing is even happening. But Chicago is so bad, and I'm sure they imagine themselves being bad for a while. But why wouldn't you want that guy on your team for the next couple of years if he's going to be that good? He's your drawing card, and I don't think I would trade him if I was a White Sox executive.
Well, if I'm the Giants, I'd like to see Finnegan, maybe Elaine Thomas or somebody like that. I want an outfielder who can play center specifically, because Ramos tries his best, and I know Lee will be back next year, but Ramos is not a center fielder.
Yep.
And I'd like one more bullpen arm, even if Hicks goes to the bullpen.
Yep, and Finnegan sometimes makes me a little nervous, but the strikeout to walk is very good for him this year. Home runs allowed is a little bit high. He takes a long time sometimes. He had that crazy moment with the pitch clock violates and it lost him a game. He would be an interesting get, but I feel like if they're going I don't know. I don't feel necessarily hugely comfortable with the idea of the Giants going for it. But that's just me, and I could be wrong.
All right. Well, I was wrong about the Mets. You said it a couple of months ago. I said no way, and here they are. All of a sudden, they've taken charge of the wild card. So we'll see. There's still, my point to you and everyone else today, there's still a lot of baseball left to be played.
Yep, for sure.
All right, Mark, thanks so much as always. And you'll talk to Glenn Kuiper next week. He's sitting in for me. I'm taking a weekend off, so enjoy it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Mark. That is Mark Simon. Mark A. Simon says on Twitter, and Mark at sportsinfosolutions.com. All right, more coming up. Bruce Jenkins next, right here on the Sports Leader. It's been a pleasure working with Rick Robin this year. Rick Robin, R-O-B-B-E-N, NapaConstruction.com. Rick, the last time you were on with us, you told us about kitchen and bath remodeling, but there's a lot more going on up in your area.
Yes, there is. ADUs, auxiliary dwelling units, which are nose to drain. We can do your existing garage, attached garage, even building a new unit in the back. And so what we do is come out, bring our architect out there. That's a great thing. No sewer hookup fees, no water hookup fees. So that's what we do.
Rick, how does one start the process with you? How does one get in touch with you?
So you call Tammy, 707-332-7575, 7 days a week.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Rick, the thing I like about this, no problem for me. You come out with the plans, the permits, everything is in-house, no fees, and you get a new unit that you can rent out and get money back on your investment right away. I like it, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. Love talking to you.
Rick Robin, ConstructionNapa.com. Fans, nothing better than spending an afternoon at the Priest Ranch Wine Tasting Room in Yountville. You can relax as you enjoy a selection of limited production estate wines paired with local artisanal cheese and charcuterie. Your host will guide you through each unique pairing while sharing the incredible story of Priest Ranch. Now, while you're there, you must try the food at our new restaurant, The Kitchen at Priest Ranch. It's right next door to the Priest Ranch Tasting Room and serves amazing, fast, casual food. That's an afternoon.
Look through the window of the original Joe's on North Beach and you'll see two guys at the counter talking ball. Time for you to listen in to their conversation. Marty Laurie and the SF Chronicles' Bruce Jenkins are looking through the window of baseball. Sponsored by Original Joe's of North Beach and Westlake on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
All right, Tyler Fitzgerald with us. People don't realize you got power. You do have power, and we saw it against Kikuchi who's a tough customer. He struck out 13 Giants on Tuesday night. What did you see from Kikuchi, and did you know it was gone when you hit it?
I had a feeling, but you never really know here. I learned that last September when I got a ball just about as good as I could, and it didn't even leave left center. So really, I had a feeling it was gone. I know I didn't get it as good as I could have, but I knew with the ball flight that it was probably gone. He almost made an incredible play and left there. He looked like Spider-Man out there. So, but yeah, I got some power. Hopefully, with more consistent at-bats, I can show that up here, like I do when I'm in AAA and whatnot. So definitely hoping to bring that up here with me.
That is Tyler Fitzgerald. Bruce, how did you like that quote?
Which one?
The one where he says, I hope that I can bring the power up here.
Yeah, when was that taped?
I taped it about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, yeah. Who had any idea what the kind of power he was going to unleash? I mean, good grief, he doesn't stop. And just when you think, is he going to get wrapped up in a home run swing, he bangs a single. He with a nice level, cool-headed swing. He's really shown up good, but he's got a lot of humility too. I mean, he's been through the minors. He knows it's a game of there's a lot of failure to it, and great streaks like this aren't sustainable. But he's riding it out, and he's been a real pleasure to watch.
I think so, and the question is, where does he fit in eventually? Is he a shortstop? Or is he the utility player? Is he a guy who can play the use him wherever you need to use him, but keep the bat in the lineup? That's the question for me. Will he be the shortstop?
Yeah, he said he's reached the point where he's not worried about, is the ball going to be hit to me, and what do I do if it is, and there's guys on and all that. He has felt a little bit of stress playing the infield in the big leagues that says he's getting over. And if you're just out there on a part-time basis, it's really hard to sustain your rhythm and the confidence and all that stuff. So that just remains to be seen. But in the meantime, he can play the outfield. He can fill in. If he's comfortable with it and he keeps hitting, then it's super valuable. But I think right now you got to ride it out at shortstop.
Yeah, I think so. Well, the Rockies come into town always at the right time. Isn't it amazing? They show up, and all of a sudden everyone feels a lot better. And it was quite a display of power last night, too, from Fitzgerald. And as I said with Soler, you don't need a commentator to tell you the ball is gone. Just watch him. When he hits it, he stands there immediately as it's gone, and Ramos, too. Yeah, the Rockies come in at the right time.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a Giants team that we dearly have wanted to see on a consistent basis. But, Soler had 3 hits. They weren't all bombs like that one, but he still had put 3 hits on the board. Ramos, he doesn't stay quiet for long, and Fitzgerald, and that was great. I mean, today with Snell and Birdsong, it's a really interesting day today with a doubleheader. Yeah. I mean, a good chance, if those guys both have their stuff, a good chance they can win them both. And if they hit the ball like they did last night, who knows? But with this club, you can never forecast. You can't forecast Snell. You can't forecast Birdsong or anything, which is the beauty of it. But right now it feels like a good time to, they're still 5 games under 500, and they need to take care of that before anything.
Yeah, with 57 games to go, and as I said, we can talk about some of the division races in a second, but what does Farhan do here? Does he have a plan in place now? Does it matter whether they win two in a row or 3 in a row or go 2-1? What does he do here?
Well, that's the question. I kind of asked the question in the column that's going to be in the paper tomorrow. It's a question that John Shea raised. It's a question that Shayna Rubin raised, and that's the tone. I think the team doesn't know. Meanwhile, I think in the background, Farhan is looking at all the big time buy as opposed to sell the players they can get. We don't know who they are. I couldn't speculate on what's going on with his negotiations, but I have to think he's at least looking into some stuff. I think one thing, there's been a lot of talk about unloading some of the veterans. Yeah. There's a bunch of them, Flores and Estrada and Conforto, even Yaz, although he's been playing pretty well lately. Lamont Wade, for all the on-base percentage, the guy's only got 19 RBIs. He's not showing up. So there's a lot of ways they can go. And it's just a matter of, I don't know how much you get for any of those guys, really. I mean, nobody's busting down the door for any of those guys. But they could help a team that's in contention that needs to fill a spot. Might have some interest there, but it just depends what you get back for. But for me, I would like to see some new veterans come in. These guys are, they're good guys. They've done a lot of stuff, but they're very average, and the Giants need to be better than average.
Well, I think you hit it on the head in your column of a day or two ago with the veterans that you just named. Estrada and Flores, unfortunately, are on the disabled list, so I don't even think you can trade them when they're on the disabled list, so that's a problem. You can only do a waiver deal, and those are complicated.
Yeah.
But for Conforto, the Mets want him, apparently, and he reminds me of Bobby Mercer. When Bobby Mercer was here, it was one of those years or 2 years that you never knew he was here. And I almost get that feeling with Conforto.
That's true. Yeah.
That he's going to leave, and then later on, 10 years later, you say, did you ever play in San Francisco? And he'll say, geez, I don't remember that.
And Bobby Mercer had been a big star in New York, huge, and so was Conforto, really, when he came up. I was shocked, Marty. This snuck up on me. The Mets are ahead of the Braves.
Yes, they are. Mets are the best team in baseball since June.
Yeah.
They're 31-13.
They're looking for players for sure. I think a lot of the fans there have a soft spot for Conforto, remembering how it was for him, and he still stings the ball occasionally. He's certainly not hopeless up there, so that'd be an interesting possibility. But gracious, the Mets, what a thing!
Yeah, and Senga pitched last night, and he pulled his calf in the 6th inning, but he pitched well. But they're scoring runs. They have an offense now, and they've gone past the Braves. And we've said this for a month or two, that it doesn't look like it's the Braves' year, and the injuries are just catching up to him. But the Brewers are the one for me. I mean, Yelich, Bruce, it looks like he's out, and he's probably out for the year. Yastrzemski would look good there.
Yes, he would.
Conforto could look good there, too. And the Giants have a little bit of leverage with the Brewers. Maybe they could get something back.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to trade Adames. He'd be a tremendous addition for the Giants. That way you really could make Fitzgerald a jack-of-all-trades kind of guy, maybe play him at second base, who knows, ahead of Estrada. So I'm sure they're looking into that. But yeah, the Yelich thing hurts them. They need to fill that spot, and a corner outfielder, and that's what the Giants have to offer. So that's definitely a possibility. The Brewers, and that would put them in a better race than they're in now. Maybe not more interesting, but a more probable to get to the postseason.
Well, and the other one you brought up is Lamont Wade, and I said this a couple of weeks ago. It seems like there's something up with the guy. Why doesn't he play? Well, he sits out all the time. I'd rather have left-handed Lamont Wade in there than David Villar, to tell you the truth, with all due respect to David Villar, but they don't play Lamont. Something's up with him.
Yeah, something is that they don't trust him, and his RBI total reflects that. He's had 230-something plate appearances. I mean, Wisely's got more RBIs than this guy in his limited time. So I don't know, but it's not a good-looking situation right now. So at the same time, it might be tough. Flores can't really help you at first base for a while, and who knows what else they've got there. I wish Bryce Eldridge were a couple of years into his seasoning and had a chance to come up here, but he's a first baseman, but he is very promising, but I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon. No.
Well, Lamont Wade would look good in Houston. They've got some trouble there around first base. He would look good there. Let's talk Blake Snell a little bit. He does pitch today. Bruce, he's been fabulous in his 4 games, whatever it is, since he's come up. Blake Snell, do you keep him? Is this Carlos Rodon 2.0, where you got trouble with the contract and you can't move it? The Yankees could love him. The Orioles, heck, he can win a pennant for the Orioles. Maybe Houston, too.
Well, I definitely want Snell for the rest of this year, but that would be based on the premise that you can keep him. I mean, if he can opt out, he's got one of these super annoying contracts where he's signed for 2 years, but he can opt out. Well, what the hell? Then maybe he's gone. You don't know you surely don't know what's going through his head on that. I mean, he was questioning the Giants, thinking they rushed him, but then he loves it here. He did that great interview with Kruko. He's an interesting guy. Seems to like the Giants in the Bay Area. You cannot hit that slider, Marty, especially a lefty. It's over. I mean, he's between the fastball and the slider. The guy is absolutely fabulous, which is why he wins 2 Cy Young. So, they have to think about right now. Farhan really needs to think about right now. And he needs to have Snell in the stretch drive because the rotation is going to be their key to the promised land.
Yeah, and look, Birdsong goes today, and to me, he looks like he's better than a lot of pitchers they've got right now.
Oh, man, how about that slider? Jeez, from the right-hand side. Just tremendous. I hated to see the kid go down, but there was a plan. He's back already. But, he strikes out 12 in Colorado. It'll be interesting to see what those hitters find out about him, or if they did. Because if that slider's on, I don't care if you know it. Even if you know it's coming, you're not going to drive it. He might reach down and do something with it. So that's a fascinating aspect of it. But, geez, if that guy is going to put together enough starts to get in the rotation, these other teams are looking at a real load in that Giants rotation.
Well, that's why I say, and we talk about this all the time. You and I have talked about it. When you get to this stage of the season, you can make a run. This is what baseball's all about. It's different than the other sports. It's different. You can make a run, but you can't go backwards. That's
right.
The problem. When you're 7 back or 6 back in the loss column, you can't go 12 back, with 50 to go. That's not going to work. But if you can put a run together and you can do it with starting pitching, and look, their bullpen is still strong. I just don't think it's hopeless. I just really don't think it's hopeless. I can't see him just cleaning house.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Well, he needs some success.
To do something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean his stint here has been marked by failure mostly. I mean that's the word. J.T. Snow called this season a failure. He's put the stamp on it, which you can't do yet. But I mean, he's not. His track record isn't good. He needs this team to do something. So he definitely doesn't throw in the towel or at all. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on Snell. I'd love to make a run at it with Snell. But I think between Snell and Duvall, one of them can bring back a player that can help the Giants. That's my feeling.
Well, Duvall is interesting because if Robbie Ray is going to pitch like this and they put Hicks in the bullpen, Hicks could close. I mean, he's got the mindset for it. He's been around. He's not afraid of the moment. He's got his stuff hasn't been sustainable through the course of a game, especially the last game. I mean, geez, he strikes out an Ohtani on an unhittable slider, but a couple innings later he doesn't have the pitch. But if he's coming in for the 9th inning just to throw flame and the tough sliders, he could close, which would mean you could trade Duvall. I think they could get a lot for Duvall. I mean, the Giants are down on his attitude, but a lot of teams really don't know that. I mean, they know his stats are good, his arm is good, nothing wrong there. He could be a tremendous pickup, but I wouldn't give him away, Marty.
No.
Yeah.
No, and I keep saying the Orioles. There are certain teams that can win that can win a pennant with the right players, and they've got a ton of young players to trade. And that's exactly what the Giants need. So if I'm Farhan, I become bold that I make one dramatic trade, at least one dramatic trade where I'm doing something like we're talking about. It's going to make the next few days interesting. It certainly will. How'd you like Dylan Cease? Well, let's go to Dylan Cease. 114 pitches. Mike Schilt wanted to take him out, and Dylan Cease says, I'm not going out.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. I mean, you can just tell by watching him. He was in such control. He needs to improve his posture a little bit. Just kidding. I've never seen a guy stand so straight up. He looks like he just came out of the L.A. Police Academy, and he set all kinds of records. He made 100% score. But yeah, that's just that guy. What an asset. But I love it when you see guys. Now they have to talk their way into the 7th inning, let alone the 8th or the 9th. Yeah. But good for Schilt. He watched what was happening. He watched how the team responded in the dugout. He watched how they responded afterward. And this guy's arm is, it's just not going to fall off. It might, I guess. But, I mean, when something like that happens, you got to ride with it. We saw it all the years we've been watching ball. The guy with a no-hitter always got a chance to stick it out, and the odds were very much in favor of the next time out he's going to throw another 123 pitches or whatever. So you don't see it much, but it's good when you do.
That's the guy I wanted in spring. Remember with the White Sox?
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. Yeah,
that's the guy. I think he's. And look, San Diego's won 6 in a row. They're starting to play better ball all the time now, and they're beating some good teams. They knocked the Orioles around. They went in and knocked Washington around too. San Diego is putting it together. You know that?
Well, yeah. I mean, they had a great win yesterday. The Orioles got to Robert Suarez and tied that game up, but Profar, who'd already hit a homer, hits a 2-run homer off Kimbrel. Talk about the Orioles needing a closer. Boy, he's not the answer at all. And then Suarez cruised through the ninth. So Michael King's pitching really well for them. They had somebody named Vasquez the other day who pitched 6 innings of shutout ball. I never heard of him. But they, I don't know if they're going to get Tatis back anytime soon, but Profar is proving to be worthy of that All-Star. He's right there, with Machado and those guys. Bogarts has been super shaky at second base. He's had a bunch of bobbles. He almost cost the Cease the no-hitter with a bobble. He had another one, I think yesterday, but they're just yet another team that's a real threat to the Giants, but not overwhelming. But they got a little something going for sure.
Yeah. Arizona's the one that is starting to put it together. I like the fact. See, they made a good trade. They got a power lefty for their bullpen. They needed one. Joe Mantiply wasn't he wasn't Allen Iverson. He wasn't the answer, so to speak. But they got
Park, right?
Yeah. And Arizona. Look, Jock Peterson hit home runs 200 and 201 this week. He's had a nice career. You know that.
Oh my God! Forget it about a right-handed pitcher. He's lethal up there, and he does. He hit a 453-footer yesterday. Gallen didn't have a good start, but Peterson helped get him back, and Sewald looks like he's back in relief. And they've been throwing out guys, Christian Mena and somebody named Gilbert Diaz making their debut out in the rotation, but eventually that rotation is going to get healthy again, and super dangerous team.
Yeah, the Montgomery is back. Merrill Kelly, they say, will come back, and Eduardo Rodriguez at some point has got to come back, I would assume.
They're expecting it.
Yeah, this is going to be a good run. The West is going to be fun. I'm curious your thoughts about the Dodgers right now. And Freddie Freeman, I know that there's an illness with his child. He had to go back home. But, boy, the Dodger team, Bruce, this team is struggling right now.
Well, yeah, it was a really bad sign that Gavin Stone got bumped around yesterday, by the Astros. He was hit pretty hard. Singleton and Bregman homered off him. They couldn't touch Framber Valdez, but the pitching staff is officially in shambles. I mean, Glasnow came back against the Giants. He didn't look right. There's been there's an arm you got to watch because he's been hurt a lot of times, a lot of stress, a lot of innings, a lot of effort. And Bobby Miller's not back. I thought Kershaw was really inspiring. They needed that really badly. But I mean, and the bullpen is just a joke. They finally DFA'd Ramirez, who was just horrendous, and Vesia. He comes on and walks the first 2 guys. Thank you. They're the terrible bullpen, and that's going to really cost them. But the hitting when Betts comes back, and Ohtani could win the Triple Crown, and. So there's another team that's up and down and really good and really bad.
Well, I said this with Mark Simon. You look at all the leaders. The Phillies are having trouble right now. They're not playing good ball at all. You look at what's in the Brewers. They still need starting pitching, and Yelich is out. The Dodgers are in trouble. The Oriole-Yankee thing, they lose every day in Boston. Bucky Dent is packing his bags. He's coming back. You got that coming. And, the Central, Cleveland doesn't score a lot of runs, but, boy, the bullpen is just the deal. But they've got to get a pitcher somewhere. And then the Seattle thing, they got Randy Arozarena, who's hitting .220, and that raised their batting average up about 8 points.
Yeah, with that team was so quiet offensively the guys that covered the team were just despondent over how punchless they have been for quite a while. They finally erupted yesterday. I think Rosarena, we know he can be really good, and Julio Rodriguez can be really good. They can both be streaky, but if those guys are, really, they're showmen, they excite the fans. That's two guys who could help get them back, and they still have the pitching. Kirby was tremendous yesterday. So, it's so interesting because of this trading. I wish there were more really good players available, because all these teams we've talked about would love to make a major deal.
Yeah, and they need them. Yeah, everybody needs something. That's why I would expect the Giants will be in the middle of this thing. I don't see how they can avoid it. So this is going to be an interesting few days. One last thing before we talk about one historical note. Paul Skeens this week. Bruce, they let him go into the ninth inning.
Yeah, I don't think that was too tough a choice. I mean, he's been gearing toward that. He pitched. He's left the game with a no-hitter already. I mean, every time out, you figure he's going to go a little bit longer, and he's just such a stud. His mental makeup is completely off the charts. His confidence and humility are a really wonderful blend. Sort of like the fastball and the breaking pitch. It's just good grief. The guy is unbelievable, and that's a team. I think that could worry the Giants if they get Jones back, because they've got Mitch Keller in there with Skeens. And it's a fun lineup. It's not the best you've ever seen, but they can do some damage. But Skeens is, if they do get into the playoffs or just in a big series in September, when you see that guy, you're not looking at a win.
No, you're going to get beat. And he's. I remember Cal Eldred was like 12-1. They brought him up, I think it was the Brewers, and he ended up leading them to a title or something like that. But that's what this guy, Rowdy Tellez on Pittsburgh, our local guy, we've had him on the show. He's been doing pretty well, too, for the Pirates.
Yeah, I love watching him. Big kind of chunky guy with a beautiful swing, and he's been consistently good. That was a really good pickup for him. That's the kind of pickup that a bunch of teams, they've got the pitching, but they need a little bit of punch. A guy like Tellez is super valuable.
Yeah, he's been doing well. I hurt his back last night, but he's carried him. Yeah, they took him out last night in the second or third inning. Connor Joe went in. July 27th, which is today, 1983. Gaylord, strikeout number 3,501. Only two had done it at that point. I can't believe it. Steve Carlton and Nolan Ryan. I never thought of Gaylord as that big strikeout pitcher. Have you? Did you?
Well, he never led either league in strikeouts, and he pitched, 22 years or 23 years. He was pitching when he was 44, but he never led the league. He just was always right around 210, 230, and his arm, talk about an arm. Geez, I mean, he struck out a bunch of guys at 44. He struck out 50 in 84 innings, which at that age is pretty astounding. But I just crack up. There's so much concern about innings pitched and being careful that you don't raise that level right every year. They're watching Harrison that way. The Dodgers are watching Glasnow, and everybody's watching everybody. Well, Gaylord Perry, in 1963, young kid with the Giants, he pitches 76 innings just trying to get his feet wet. The next year he pitched 206. It hurt his arm so bad he had 6 seasons of 300 innings as the years went on. So don't give me this innings limit crap.
All right.
Sorry.
Let's play 2, as Ernie Banks said.
Let's play
3. Well, we will. We'll be on early tomorrow. It'll be almost like playing a triple header. So have a good afternoon. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Marty.
Be well. All right, thanks, Bruce. All right, Thomas Harding, MLB.com. He covers the Rockies. Should be next, right here in the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Lurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Everyone likes a party, but everyone loves a party at Original Joe's. With 3 private dining rooms, it's the perfect spot to hold your next big event. From christenings to corporate gatherings, we'll make your next party San Francisco special. Original Joe's, see you at the counter.
Fans for great baseball gear, check out Baseballism. The store is located at 3rd and King opposite the ballpark. Whether it's jackets, shirts, hats, you name it, Baseballism is the most unique store I've seen. It is the best. 3rd and King, right opposite the ballpark.
Orange and Black family, the godfather of Giants baseball now continues. This is Talkin' Baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, great to have you back with us. A lot of fun today. Doubleheader at the old ballpark today. How about that? It's going to be someday. Can't wait to watch both games today from Oracle Park. Thomas Harding joins us from MLB.com. He covers the Rockies. We talked to Thomas last Saturday when he was at Cooperstown. Thomas, you're back. Everything okay?
Everything's okay. In fact, I'm in San Francisco. It's funny. I was telling your producer, I was in the dugout when he called, and it was in between sound checks for the Tyler Rich concert tonight. But as soon as I went on hold, there was more sound checks. So I'm actually somewhere among the old-time bullpen carts here at Oracle Park.
All right, great. You know your way around. It's great to have you on. Thomas, how did everything go? We talked to you Saturday. How was the induction of Todd Helton and everyone else on Sunday? What did you think?
It was an absolutely wonderful experience. Todd gave a great speech, and it's funny because Todd, to me, has always been a very clever fellow. To his teammates, they've always worried that something would happen if he spoke or something like that. It was a wonderful speech by him. Got to spend a lot of time with him, and I was at his house, actually, when he received the phone call, his house in Knoxville, Tennessee, when he received the phone call that he was going in. Yes, and spent a little bit more time with him there in Cooperstown. He has really worked hard to make that event kind of a good one for all of his former teammates, all of his managers, a lot of people even that he grew up with, played college ball with. I actually ran into a high school player that years ago I covered him in high school, and he ended up going to Tennessee and rooming with Todd. So it was a great experience there for everybody involved. Like I say, I've known Todd a little bit before his Rockies career. I covered some Tennessee football, covered some high school baseball in Tennessee. So for me, it was really good to see a guy that I've seen since he was about a sophomore, junior in high school go on to become a Hall of Famer.
How would you describe the atmosphere of Cooperstown on Hall of Fame weekend?
It's magical. I mean, it really is. You've got fans of the teams of Hall of Famers, and they are all over the town. It's a little village. And what I like about it, too, is that, small villages, there aren't a lot of people to deal with, so they get to know people, and maybe if people are a little quirky, it's like, oh, that's cool. They treat everybody the way they treat people that grew up in that village. So that's what I like about Cooperstown during that time. Yeah, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's rainy, but really it's a friendly little place, and the fans of various teams being there make it special.
Yeah, I always said it's like New Year's Eve for baseball fans.
Yes.
It's a celebration that's going on. Thomas Harding with us. All right, a doubleheader today, as Ernie Banks said, let's play two, and I guess they are going to play two today with a concert in the middle that Thomas told us about. But what about Rockies pitching today? We did see Feltner. You were right about Feltner. He's throwing the ball a little bit better. But what do we see Feltner, and who pitches the second game?
Let's see here. It'll be Tyler Gordon, who they got in a trade with the Braves last year at the deadline. Young, from the University of Indiana, really good stuff. The type of guy, too, that Bud Black really kind of zeroed in on during spring training and also leading up to the season. He's like, this guy has good stuff. We could work with him. He could be part of the pitching depth. So that's who you see in the second game. As far as Ryan Feltner's concerned, I like what he does. I mean, you would like to see consistency from first pitch to last pitch, but this guy has really good stuff.
Yeah, I thought he pitched a really good game last week. He gave up a couple of long balls, which is going to happen for him, but I thought he really pitched well. I thought, from watching Freeland last night, of course he gave up the home run and the umpires squeezed him a lot last night. But I think the Rockies pitching looks a little bit better to me.
Yeah, and if some of the younger guys that are coming up can just harness the talent that they have. I know they moved last year's number one pick, Chase Dollander. They moved him to Double-A just recently. Sean Sullivan, the left-hander, who was like a second-round pick of theirs, he's in Class A ball. You see him moving along. They also had 3 or 4 prospects last year that had Tommy John surgery. We're going to see those guys in instructional ball. So what they're doing is that they're building a starting staff. That's the hardest thing to build. And if you still have Freeland, who I think he's pitched really well since coming off the IL. The fastball wasn't as sharp last night, but you have Freeland, Senzatella, who's still coming back, Marquez, who they're really being careful about. Suddenly you're looking at a starting rotation with some depth to it.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. Will the Rockies be active in this trade deadline thing coming up Tuesday? We've talked a lot about the Giants. Yeah, take a good look at Blake Snell. Who knows where he'll be after Tuesday? But what about the Rockies? What are they going to do?
Well, if you look at it, Cal Quantrill is getting a lot of attention on the outside. Jalen Beeks, the left-hander, you think that contending teams, they need a guy like that. The guy that I'm really watching, though, is Elias Diaz, the catcher. He was the All-Star Game MVP last season. He has dealt with some calf issues for the last 3 to 4 weeks, and that may have slowed some of the interest, but teams that need catching or somebody who can DH when he's not catching, Elias Diaz seems to fit them quite well.
Chris Bryant is back. No pun intended. He is back. But, boy, he does not look like the same player, Thomas.
I would love to see a run of health from Chris Bryant where the back is truly okay, where he's able to take the full swings. When he was in the minor league rehab assignments, you saw some swings from him that we haven't seen at the major league level. Obviously, when you have back issues, and he's had foot and back issues, those are some of the hardest things to overcome. But wouldn't you like to see a run of health from him? It reminds me a little bit of Todd Helton, actually. The latter part of his career, he had a back surgery. He had chronic back problems. But when you talk to guys around those times, the reason why he was considered so great is that there were times that his back was really hurting, and he would grind out at bats and still get hits. Then he'd have those days where he'd wake up feeling great. and suddenly you saw the Todd Helton of 2000, 2001, 2002, where he was stinging the balls all over the park, hitting for some power, and you understood why he ended up a Hall of Famer. You'd love to see Chris Bryant have a run of health where he gets back to what he was in Chicago.
Yeah, we'll see. Those are tough injuries. Don Mattingly, there's a whole list of players whose career were cut short because of injuries. Look at Yelich, what's going on with him now with his back injury. How do you explain Kyle Harrison, Birdsong? Look what Birdsong did to the Rockies last week. Rockies just couldn't put the bat on the ball against either one of them.
Kyle Harrison seems to have the perfect mix against the Rockies. He can hit the top of the zone and doesn't miss there. The thing about it is a lot of pitchers who pitch at the top of the zone, if they miss, you can really club them pretty hard at the top of the zone. He didn't miss up there, but also the thing that I talked to some hitters and also Bud Black about was his secondary pitches, because he doesn't throw them a lot, he picks the right time to throw them, and they really work well. So Kyle Harrison has been a tough out for the Rockies 2 times this season and really throughout his career.
Yeah, Birdsong, look at all the strikeouts he had last week, too.
Right. Yeah, it's there are
you weren't there.
pitchers.
You're in Cooperstown last week, but yeah, Birdsong I think had 12 strikeouts against the Rockies last Sunday.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, and what Kyle Harrison had 11 last night. But this is the thing about this Rockies team. Maybe they'll have a game like that. They had one against Boston where they were shut out, but they won both of those series. This team is pretty resilient. They're young. They're pretty resilient. They don't let a bad game carry over into the next day.
All right, we'll see what happens for these two. 20 runs for the Red Sox against the Red Sox, and then they come out and can't do much against Harrison, but that's the way baseball works. Thomas, we love having you on. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you enjoyed Cooperstown, and let's play 2, so enjoy Oracle Park today.
Hey, I've got nothing else to do. Let's play 2 ball games, right?
Okay. All right, be well. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Coming up next, he's the voice of the Oakland A's. They're possibly in the trade market, too. Who knows what could happen with them, but Ken Korach joins us next right here on the Sports Leader.
Talking baseball with Marty Laurie on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
Fans, I'd love to talk about Georgie Brothers Furniture. They've been in the Bay Area for over 90 years. They have that 50,000 square foot showroom. It's got over 150 wonderful carpets, window coverings, and all sorts of furniture manufacturers. Well, the big news is stressless chairs. They make high-quality, comfortable furniture, sectional sofas, love seats, single reclining chairs, as well as the famous stressless chair, which I have, in my home. Now, there's a great sale going on. It goes on till August 5th, and it's called On the Spot Summer Savings. This is very exciting. You can receive an instant rebate for $100 for every $1,000 spent. So the 10% savings is really one of the best of the summer. Stressless furniture, I'm telling you, you have to try it. It's very, very healthy, very good for you. Check out Georgie Brothers Furniture. It's in South San Francisco, but look at them online. Georgie Brothers, GIORGIBROS.com. That's GIORGIBROS.com. Remember, tell them that Marty sent you. joined by Grant Power. He's the president and CEO of Nations, and Nations is now franchising. Grant, let's get an update on that.
Well, Marty, we've sold 8 franchisees, and we actually have one business group that's on the verge of purchasing another 6. So we've got some great momentum. Our dream and our goal is to do 1,000 stores nationwide. But to get there, you've absolutely got to nail the first 10 or 15 with great franchisees. And we are obsessed with seeing those first 10 or 15 franchisees succeed. We are really emphasizing markets that are adjacent to our current stores in Northern California. So in other words, we want these to be 10 to 15 of the best nations that have ever existed.
Grant, how does someone get in touch with you to get started?
So my cell phone number is 510-612-0036. I'll say that again here, 510-612-0036. They should call me personally. We're a family company. We're looking to add people to the family. These are the juiciest opportunities out there. If somebody has any kind of interest or any kind of drive for running restaurants and they want to be a part of a 74-year-old company that's striving to have a very ambitious and exciting decade, this is really an opportunity that you can't miss.
That's Grant Power, President, CEO of Nations.
Giants fans, there's no better way to set the game day table than talking baseball with Marty Laurie. Marty keeps rolling on KNBR, the sports leader.
Fans, it's great to have you back with us as we get ready for a doubleheader today. Giants baseball coming up. We're joined by the captain, as we like to call him. He's the lead play-by-play voice of Oakland A's radio and beloved here in the Bay Area. That is Ken Korach. Captain, how are you?
Marty, how's it going? I know you're looking forward to playing 2 today.
As Ernie Banks said, let's play 2 today. I don't think anyone remembers that, but what do you think about a doubleheader? Have you been involved with straight doubleheaders before without that day-night stuff?
I think we might have had a scheduled doubleheader last year against the Angels, so they're rare, right? They're dinosaurs, Marty. So there are plenty of them that you have after rainouts, although not so much here in the Bay Area. But, yeah, it's unusual to have a straight doubleheader, but I think it's kind of cool. It's a throwback.
Yeah, good marketing ploy. I think 2 games for 1. Plus there's a concert in the middle, so I think fans will have a lot of fun today. And plus it's the Rockies. Whenever you're not feeling well, the prescription says play the Rockies in San Francisco. So the Giants have that coming up today, so we'll see how that goes. But let's talk A's baseball a little bit, because the A's and Giants play next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, the first of 4 games this year. Ken, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the A's, because their names are in the paper or on the Internet recently here, and it starts with Rooker, and then it goes to other players. So what do we have going on?
This is the best they've played, I think, Marty, in 3 years. Now they're coming off 2 really tough seasons, as you know, but they just clinched their first winning record since in 2 years, literally. And their last winning record was in June of 22, and they're on pace for their best percentage for a month since 2021. So, and it's really revolved around their offense, Marty. They have, if you look up and down the most important stats, team numbers in baseball, they lead the big leagues in almost every important category in July, not just the American League. So the offense has really been on fire. Like you said, it's been led by Rooker, who had his 25th home run last night. Lawrence Butler has emerged right before our eyes. He's been blossoming. He's had a phenomenal month as well. So offensively, they've been outstanding. And they're starting to get a little more healthy with their starting pitching. They just got Stripling and Blackburn back the last couple of days as well.
Let's talk about Rooker a little bit because that name comes up. I know it's connected to the Phillies, number one, maybe some other teams as well. Tell us about Rooker. This is a 29-year-old rookie, isn't it, who's come up and had the big year last year and now has put it together again.
Yeah.
You think he's going to get moved?
He's not. As you know, he's actually not a rookie. He had a great year last year, and he made the All-Star team, and I think he should have made it this year. He's been one of the premier hitters in baseball for the last 2 years, Marty. So I don't know. We've been down this road before with the trading deadline for me almost 30 years, and you've been doing your pregame shows for that long as well out here. So it's impossible to predict. I will tell you this, they don't have to trade any of their key guys. Rooker is under team control for at least the next 3 years, and the top 5 guys in their lineup have really been carrying the team along with their number 9 hitter, Max Schumann. All those guys are under team control at least through next year. So I don't know what they're going to do. I had a little nice chat with David Force the other day. So I think the fact that they are playing so well, even though we're not, I don't want to be Pollyannish about it, they're not going to contend for first place this year, but it might be because this is, like I said, the best they've played, I think, in 3 years. Perhaps the deals they make will be more of the minor or secondary variety this year.
All right, well, we'll see. Tell us about Butler, too, because 3 homers in a game, and all of a sudden he's emerged.
Yeah, in the span of like 5 or 6 games, his last at-bat against the Phillies before the All-Star break, he had a chance to hit his 4th home run of that game. And then the other day, he had a chance to hit for the cycle as they came up in his last at-bat. So he is really emerging, and he got sent down this year. He got off to a really disappointing start, and they've worked with him a little bit on the fundamentals and the way in his stance, especially trying to keep his head still up at the plate in his approach. He's a left-handed hitter who was signed by the A's, drafted out of high school down in the Atlanta area, and he's just made a remarkable turnaround and he's been on fire this month. He was 0 for 4 or 5 last night. And we were getting used to him getting 2 or 3 hits every game. And he has, between Rooker and Butler, I think one of those guys has a great shot to be the American League Player of the Month for July.
All right, well, the A's and Giants, that'll be Tuesday and Wednesday. Ken, what about the closer, Mason Miller? Apparently he was startled that he had to go do his weightlifting, and he hit his hand on a table, and luckily it wasn't his pitching hand, but fractured his pinky. How about that one?
He had a little altercation with the training table, Marty, right?
Not good.
Yeah. You don't want to run into the training table. Yeah, it's ironic in a sense because he's such a mild-mannered kid. He's a great guy, and so that was really disappointing, too, because he really has a shot to be the Rookie of the Year this year, depending on how long he's out, and the most pitches over 100 miles an hour this season, Marty, as you know, and the strikeouts per 9 innings, almost 14 per 9. So he's been a great story, and he's been the one who's garnered the most headlines for the club. And as you know, he was the winning pitcher in the All-Star game for the American League. So he became the last Oakland A's pitcher to ever win an All-Star game.
Well, what about trading him? And I've said this publicly on the air. I said, boy, if the A's are not going to contend for 2 or 3 years or whatever it may be with Sacramento coming up and everything else, why not move Mason Miller? You probably can get something decent for him, and relievers are really what people want these days.
Something decent for him would not suffice. And I know that bullpens are fungible, and you can revamp a bullpen overnight, as you know, and it's except for the elite relievers, it's tough to predict from year to year. But if you're going to trade Mason Miller, you better get a ton for him, Marty. So that's the way I look at it. He's a dynamic force at the end of the game. So I can guarantee you this, that David Force, that his phone's been ringing like every GM. He's had conversations. But again, I'd be surprised if they traded him, and especially because he's going to be on the IL when the trading deadline comes around on Tuesday.
Wait, what about the backup for him, Ursig? Because he's been pretty good too.
Pitched at Cal, and he's a South Bay product, and was signed by Milwaukee as an infielder. Made the transition to pitching, and it might have been a little bit of an advantage for him in a way because his arm is fresh. It's not like he's been pitching his whole life, although he dabbled in it when he was a youngster as well. So maybe not quite the electric fastball of Mason Miller's, Marty, but he's pretty close. He gets it up there in the upper 90s. He can sink it, has a good breaking ball. So he's another guy that I think they're getting calls on as well.
Well, we'll see. Tuesday coming up very quickly here. Ken Korach joins us. We've got 2 games, Tuesday and Wednesday. Sears could pitch. Maybe Blackburn on Wednesday. He just got activated. Stripling is now back. Who do you think we may see Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah, they just got Stripling back, and he pitched on Thursday, and Blackburn pitched yesterday. And it's one of those odd weeks with the scheduling because they're off on Monday and Thursday. They have the Giants, the 2 games sandwiched in between. They just sent Hogan Harris down to the minor leagues, and then Joey Estes, who's been starting, pitched out of the bullpen. He was the first guy in for Blackburn against the Angels last night. So I don't know what they're going to do, but my guess is it would be Sears on Tuesday and Stripling on Wednesday, Marty. That's just a guess, but it looks like the way things are going to line.
All right, Giants and A's coming up. This is an unusual year, obviously, for Bay Area baseball with what's going on with the A's, but it is a very nostalgic time for the A's, and the A's are grasping that and celebrating at least the end of the Coliseum with a lot of different things going on. Tell us about some of the things you've seen so far.
Well, it is. It's emotional. It's nostalgic, and it's not an easy time for the A's fan base, obviously. But we're embracing it for sure, and one of the things that they've been doing is bringing back some of the legendary A's players over the weekends to sign autographs, and they've had bobbleheads, and we've been lucky enough on the broadcast to have Dennis Eckersley on the air with us. We had Raleigh Fingers, we've had Blue Moon Odom and Dick Green. Ken Seiko was on with us the other day, so it is a trip down memory lane for sure, Marty, and it's been fun to relive some of the memories, although bittersweet, as you know. But like when the Angels were in town, it's the last meeting. That was the last meeting on Sunday between the A's and the Angels, reminiscing about the first game that the A's and Angels ever played at the Coliseum, which was in May of 1968, and Buck Rogers hit a home run to win the game for the Angels in the 12th inning, and Chuck Dobson went the distance for the A's. So Coliseum's been the scene of not only some of the great moments in A's history, but some of the great moments in baseball history. And I've just recorded a voiceover for a video that the A's are producing, and the title of it is Goodbye Coliseum. And it's going to be really emotional when it's played. That'll happen later this year. So embracing the history for sure.
Well, I was just thinking of a game that Rudy May told me about. And Rudy May, of course, lived in Oakland, grew up in Oakland. And I don't know, you probably remember this. It was a 16-inning game or something, and I think he pitched the first 11 or something like that, went home, came back, the game was still going on. And that remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. Rudy May was a really good left-handed pitcher for the Angels, yeah. And Vida was involved, I think, in that game.
That's right.
And boy, we sure miss Vida, Marty, because the A's had the 74 reunion not long ago, and it was really a very special afternoon. And then you think about some of the great, like our longtime broadcast partner Ray Fosse, who's gone, of course. And so those days are they're emotional, but I'm really thrilled that we've had the chance to go back and relive some of those great moments through the reunions of the World Series championship teams, for sure.
Well, I'm glad you could do it. As we rattle the lumber, the captain and I, as we used to do, I'm going to draw upon your baseball knowledge just a little bit. Here we are. It's July. There's still 57 games to go. There's still a pennant race out there. There's so many things that have to be decided. Why is it, for some reason in our modern world, baseball fans, if it's not happening right away for you, they just can't see the big picture that baseball is really 162, and now is when it gets very interesting. This is when the pennant race really starts.
Somebody once said that the baseball season is a mosaic.
Yeah, thank you.
And the pages of the book get turned every day. Yeah, that's one of the beautiful things about it. And it's also opened up, the third wild card has opened up so many opportunities for teams. So now's the time, I think, to embrace that. And the games still mean something. The games in June, the games in late July now and August are really meaningful for clubs that are in the race, not only in their division, but also the wild cards. So I think it's a great time of the year for baseball. It's complicated for the GMs because everything's been compressed now because of the fact they moved the draft back to the time of around the same time as the All-Star game. But it's hard, when you're a GM and you've got to make that decision, are you in it? Are you out of it? It adds another layer, I think, that you really have to think about when you're running a ball club this time of year.
Well, I just look at the Dodgers, and they're struggling. And I look at Arizona and San Diego, 7 out, 6 out, something like that. That's nothing with 2 months to go. I mean, that's the essence of baseball. Yeah. This is what it's all about.
The Yankees are really struggling too, right? The Yankees can't win a game.
Look at Boston. Boston's catching up to the Yankees.
They're getting hot. The only thing is if you're 7 or 8 back, you can't afford there's no margin for error. So you can say, yeah, you're in it, you're 7 back, but you can't lose 7 or 8 out of 10.
No.
So you had that slippage earlier in the year, and you have to get past that. So the pressure is on those teams to keep winning, because if you have a losing streak, you're going to be out of it in a hurry.
Yep, good point. That is why you're the captain. Very good. One last thought for you. Vince Cotroneo announced that he's not coming back next year to be part of the A's radio broadcast, which he's been with you for, my goodness, since Bill passed away 16 years ago, roughly. Your thoughts about Vinny?
Well, Bill passed away in October of 2005, so this is the 19th year that Vin and I have spent together, and he's the hardest working partner you could ever have, and that's the one thing, and I was asked by Bruce Jenkins about Vince, and the first thing that stands out to me about Vince is that you never had to worry about whether he was going to be prepared or not. So whether it was a good game or a bad game, and the measure of someone and their preparation, I think somebody once said you do the good games for free and you get paid for the bad games. So I could always count on Vince, especially if it was like 11-2 in the 5th inning, that you knew that he was going to do his homework and he was going to have something to contribute to the broadcast.
Nice. All right. Well, enjoy coming over to San Francisco this week. Enjoy your night at the Via, and we'll catch up soon.
It'll be good to see everybody, especially the skipper of the Giants as well. So thanks, Marty.
All right. That is the captain. That is Ken Korach. Doubleheader coming up. Obviously, Blake Snell on the hill for the Giants, and Hayden Birdsong in the second game, and tomorrow it's Jordan Hicks. Then we come back with Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb, and I'm telling you, this is going to be interesting, so stay with it. But the Giants have to be bold. Farhan's got to be bold, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Back with you tomorrow, 9 a.m. for us tomorrow in our pregame show. Doubleheader today, Walter Icaboseta coming up next with our Giants warm-up right here on KNBR 680 1045, the sports leader.
Seam heads, start cracking those peanuts and spitting those seeds, because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants warm-up.
Way back there. Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
Feet wide apart, opened up stance. The 2-2 pitch. Swing. There's a high drive into left center field. Way back there. Adios! Pelota. Number 12 for Jorge Soler. And that was a big fly. Well to the right of the 354 marker and way up into the bleachers.
You got to give Rogers credit, but Kyle pitched great tonight. And a chance to go deep into the game. He's a little unhappy with himself for not getting that last guy, but listen to this ovation. He's had some really good starts this year, but that's probably the best, and he tips his cap to Giants fans as he walks off the field and heads into the dugout with all kinds of high fives from his teammates. What a job by Kyle Harrison tonight. 11 strikeouts, 1 hit, 6 2/3 innings.
What's up, Giants fans, and welcome to the Giants warm-up show. I'm your host, Walter Ikauraseta, taking you all the way up to first pitch of game one of this doubleheader. We got 18 innings today between the Giants and the Rockies. You heard it there. It all started off with a bang. That first AB of the game yesterday with Jorge Soler finally doing what the Giants brought him in to do, and that's hit tanks, hit bombs, and he hit his 12th of the year yesterday to kind of really set the tone. That really got the dugout, got the starting pitcher of Kyle Harrison, got them going, got them pumped up, ready to kind of go into this final weekend prior to the trade deadline, because leading up to this, out of the break, the Giants, they were not performing to the level that Farhan pretty much said going into the All-Star break, was saying that the Giants needed to come out of the break and this next stretch of games needed to prove something. And they really came out flat, did not do well in Coors Field, did not do well in Los Angeles. But then they come and I understand that they're playing against the Colorado Rockies. But nonetheless, these are games that the Giants need to get. And the month of August does get a little easier for this team. So we'll talk about that moving forward. But wow, last night was just incredible. 4 home runs for the San Francisco Giants team against the Rockies. And I mean, what? Tyler Fitzgerald, man, we'll talk about him in a little bit, but Tyler Fitzgerald is just on a tear. And that's where you look at this team and you look at these young guys that this team has. You want to see a little bit more of it. I know that some callers earlier on this month, and they wanted to see more of Tyler Fitzgerald. I think our guy Mike in San Francisco was calling on Tyler Fitzgerald being in there when we still had Nick Ahmed, and wanted to see something, see what he can do. And now you're starting to see it in a small sample size. Now, we do have to remember what happened with Luis Matos, and Luis Matos has since tailed off since his scorcher of a period in May. And, you know, he's a little younger than a Tyler Fitzgerald, so maybe Tyler Fitzgerald is a little bit more seasoned. But you got, the point is, you got to have ABs. You have to have opportunities. But we will talk more about Tyler Fitzgerald. Definitely a little tease. We have a key player of the week. Yeah, it's going to be Tyler Fitzgerald. We'll do that a little bit later. But let's talk about Kyle Harrison. Kyle Harrison is just incredible right now, what he is doing. He owns the Colorado Rockies. I don't know what it is when he sees that uniform, and it doesn't matter whether it's in Oracle Park or if it's in Coors. I mean, this guy just loves to pitch against this team, and you saw it yesterday. He went 6 2/3 innings, wanted to get that final out. I was rooting for him as well watching the game, but he wasn't able to get it. But 6 2/3, I mean, dude, that is like a shot to the arm for this Giants team, for this Giants pitching staff, especially coming into a doubleheader today. He goes out there and goes 6 2/3 innings, 11 Ks, 1 hit, 1 run. Kyle Harrison was electric yesterday. So we'll hear from Giants manager Bob Melvin as it pertains to Kyle Harrison. We'll hear from Kyle Harrison as well. We got some cuts from post-game yesterday, but I do want to get your thoughts, Giants fans who are listening to the Giants warm-up show on KNBR. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitch as well, so go ahead and pop into that chat, talking with a lot of you guys leading up to this show. Greg is in there, Victor, Rick, we're all having a chat about the Giants. But last night, does that change your perception of this Giants team going into the deadline? We're going to continue to talk about this today and tomorrow. I'll be on the warm-up tomorrow as well. But I know it's the Rockies. These are teams that the Giants need to beat. They didn't do it, and these guys just putting up zeros and putting up Ks and putting your team in a position to win. Maybe now we can get to that point, because you see with Kyle Harrison, what he did yesterday, and you have Blake Snell, you hope that he goes out there. He's been pitching his ass off every single fifth day since he has been back from the IL, going into the All-Star break. And pitching in Los Angeles. I mean, this guy has been incredible since coming back, and maybe it's just because he's finally ready, he's finally healthy, and he's good to go every fifth day. So you start looking at what this rotation can be, and we've continued to talk about what this team is, and if they can reach their full potential. After last night, are you buying this Giants team, or should they still break it down? Is this start today the last start for Blake Snell in a Giants uniform? Is that something that Giants fans would like to see, to get a return in Blake Snell, assuming that maybe he doesn't come back next year because he has the option? The contract situation is a little different because there's a lot of deferred money he doesn't get until after the deal is over. I think it's in 2027 is when he gets about 17 mil, I think is what it was. So when you look at all of that, I mean, which way does last night change your perception of this Giants team, and which way do you want the Giants to go? That's 415-808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Again, we are in the YouTube chat as well. Go ahead and drop me your thoughts there, and we will discuss. But before we get to the doubleheader today, an amazing game, or an amazing day for baseball. 18 innings. We're going to get Blake Snell on the mound. And we have Hayden Birdsong coming in game 2. It should be, I mean, these are games. These are gettable games for the Giants to get on a little bit of a run going into the trade deadline. And yeah, if there was a series to kind of jumpstart your offense, this is the series here. They dropped 11 yesterday. Let's keep that going and have the Giants kind of catch fire if they can, especially dropping 11 at home. That was really impressive. But it all started yesterday, obviously, with Jorge Soler, that solo shot at the beginning of the game. We talked about that, and Kyle Harrison really followed that up with an 11 strikeout performance. Was just electric. And you love to see what Kyle Harrison can morph into. We have to remember, Giants fans, Kyle Harrison's 22 years old. You have to also remember Hayden Birdsong is 22 years old. So that's why when you start looking at this rotation and looking at the youth, I feel like if there was an opportunity to move on from these arms in the Giants pitching staff, when you're looking at Blake Snell and you're looking at possibly Robbie Ray, if he's someone that teams would want to get for a playoff push, the Giants do have arms in their farm system. And also you have to remember that pitchers always want to come to San Francisco. Pitching will not be an issue. I would love to see a full season of this rotation of Blake Snell, of Logan Webb, Kyle Harrison, and Hayden Birdsong, you throw in Robbie Ray. I mean, that would be incredible. We haven't seen that yet, and hopefully we see that down this stretch of games. But if you were to move on from Blake Snell and you were to move on with that pitching staff, again, the young arms are there, and that's why you love Kyle Harrison. When we talk about the trade deadline coming up, I think you have 4 untradeable guys, and I think that is Logan Webb. I think that is Elliot Ramos. I think that is Patrick Bailey, and the guy that pitched last night in Kyle Harrison. And Bob Melvin was talking post game about the incredible importance as to why this organization loves Kyle Harrison as much as they do. So this was Bob Melvin last night after the game, after Kyle Harrison's electric performance against the Rockies.
Just life on his fastball, and today it's 11 strikeouts, so obviously there was something there, backdoor breaking ball, and he's just a tough guy to, the velocity always plays more than what you see as a hitter. He can beat you up top, with 92 or 95, depending on what he has on that particular day, and he's throwing strikes and getting ahead and being efficient. Days like this kind of, show you why this organization's so excited about him.
Yeah, excited about Kyle Harrison and just the youth of this team when you look at the pitching staff and throwing that into Hayden Birdsong, that I think a lot of people did not expect to see in the big leagues. 22 years old as well. He will be pitching today, game 2 of the doubleheader But you got to love the direction of this team with the pitching staff. You know, a lot of this team inconsistency has come from the offense, but you look at Tyler Fitzgerald kind of being that spark plug, and he's someone that you kind of see if he's going to be part of this future. And you look at Jorge Soler, who had probably maybe his best day as a Giant yesterday. Went 3 for 3 with 2 walks, 4 runs, and I believe three RBIs with that home run sparking the beginning of the Giants just pummeling of the Colorado Rockies. So you start to see these guys start to get a little bit hot on offense. You'd love to see it continue in a consistent manner. That's why, you know, it's been really interesting to where it's been 3 runs. They haven't had consistent outings to where this offense has been effective. So I would love to see this offense really get going because I do believe that this pitching staff is going to be there. I think that this pitching staff can get this team into positions to win ball games. It just comes down to the offense. They have to score. But we're talking more about Kyle Harrison and again, mentioning the doubleheader today, 18 innings. You're going to need all hands on deck. You do have Blake Snell and you do have Hayden Birdsong. Hopefully of the 18 innings, maybe you can get 12 or 13 of that out of your starters. But again, that's why yesterday was so important for Kyle Harrison to go as deep as he did into his outing, 6 2/3, because that really sets up for a full true doubleheader, 18 innings, really sets up this team. So Bo Mel pretty much complimented Kyle Harrison on giving them a shot, not only last night, but into the rest of this weekend.
We have a doubleheader tomorrow, and, young guy, innings are piling up. We gave him a little extra rest to get here, and he felt good. Throw probably the first time he's thrown 106 pitches in his career, I'm sure. But we needed it today. I didn't want to push him past that. If he gets in a pitch count battle with the next guy, it's over 110. We don't want to do that. But it was huge to be able to give us, 6 2/3 day before a doubleheader.
Yeah, that's going to play dividends definitely into game one with Blake Snell, who historically doesn't go deep into outings, but also with Hayden Birdsong being young, but I mean, he's been effective in his starts. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Bob Melvin manages the pitch count, manages the innings for the starters, and then also follow that up with the bullpen as well. But Blake Snell on the mound in game one, Hayden Birdsong in game two. Now, Kyle Harrison, he was very insightful as far as how he has morphed into a pitcher that the Giants can rely on every fifth day. And again, just 22 years old. So the fact that he is going through these growing pains right now, and the fact that you're starting to see a glimpse of why this Giants team, this Giants organization value him so much. But Kyle Harrison pretty much talked about his maturation process and why he's throwing with so much more confidence now at this point in the season.
Yeah, I think it's tough to say, you get to this point in the season, and it's a grind. So you got to stay on top of your stuff, make sure your arm's feeling good. So I'd say it's just a learning curve for me, a little bit, and learning how to, make my body the best version of itself every 5 days and feel good. So I'd say it is.
But like you were saying, I'm just going out there with my stuff. It doesn't matter who it is. Has that always been your attitude?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's always been the attitude, and it's just always been throw everything with conviction and let's get these guys out.
You love to hear that from the young pitcher Kyle Harrison. So just to see his growth at 22 years old, and you see him just morphing into a staple in this Giants rotation. So also Kyle Harrison was talking. I mean, we're talking about this pitching staff, and I know that Giants fans and the importance of pitching has been so highly emphasized, but it all goes to waste if there isn't an offense. And Kyle Harrison spoke on the spark plug for the Giants. This dude is just he's hitting like Barry Bonds. He's hit 7 home runs in his last 8 games, something that hasn't been done since April of 2020 or 2004 by Barry Lamar Bonds. It's insane that it's Tyler Fitzgerald doing that. But Kyle Harrison spoke post game on this young guy being the second coming of Barry Bonds. So this is Kyle Harrison on Tyler Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that's the guy you need to be talking about. The dude's unbelievable. At that second home run, I was just sitting there. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, is this guy real? Is he on this planet? So, great teammate too. So, can't say enough great things about that guy, and I wish the best for him. He's killing it.
Yeah, that's pretty much simply put. Is that he is just on a tear right now. Tyler Fitzgerald leading the way for the Giants offense, and Jorge Soler starting to come around. I mean, I would never think, I would have never thought that you look at a box score now, or you look at the lineups coming up into this game, that you'd get excited over someone hitting 231. But I am excited for Jorge Soler. Maybe he has turned a corner, and he's having a much better AB. So we will talk more about the Giants offense and more about this pitching staff. Game 1 of the doubleheader today at 4:05. Official pregame starts at 3:05. You got Blake Snell on the mound in game 1. Game 2, you got Hayden Birdsong. But we will continue to discuss, does last night change how you feel about the Giants and their approach to the trade deadline? Do you want them to sell high? Do you want them to kind of just break it all down and get as much as they can in return? Or do you want them to buy a little bit? Do you want them to kind of add a few pieces here to where maybe, just maybe, they are that close to going on a little bit of a run? Again, we'll talk about that schedule coming up in August. It is favorable for the Giants moving forward until you get to September. September is a gauntlet, but we'll handle that when we get there. So we will continue that on the other side. Go ahead and give me your calls. Hit me up in the YouTube chat. Go ahead, 415-808-KNBR. It's 415-808-5627. Also on the text line, we will get to your thoughts, Giants fans. I want to hear from you. What do you want to do? Does last night change anything about this team moving forward into the trade deadline? We will continue to discuss on the Giants warm-up show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Tyler's 0 for 2 tonight. He smashes one. Deep left field. It is gone. Another home run for Tyler Fitzgerald. Man, is he hot. First pitch swing and a towering home run to make it 6-1 Giants. Hitting and hitting with power, his 7th of the year now.
2-2 the count. Rockies with Tolia at first holding against the runner. Rogers at second, well over toward the middle. And there's a swing and there's a shot. Deep left center field, way back there. Goodbye! Another home run for Tyler Fitzgerald. His second home run of the game. There's something he hadn't done yet in terms of the long ball. Fitzgerald now with his 8th home run of the season. And the roll that he is on is rather momentous right now. As in the last 7 games, he has hit 7 home runs for the Giants.
It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants warm-up show. You heard it there. Tyler Fitzgerald just continues to rip the cover off of any baseball that enters the zone against him. 8 home runs. Who would have thought? Who would have thought with Tyler Fitzgerald? 7 home runs in his last 8 games. Tying, or last time that happened was Barry Lamar Bonds, April of 2004. Does anyone remember that? Does anyone remember that? I don't know. It was a long time ago. But how old was I? How old was I in 2004, Raph? I was 12.
You're 30.
I was 12. No, thank you. Thank you, Raph. But you heard it there. Tyler Fitzgerald hitting bombs not once, but twice yesterday, and he is the Key Player of the Week, sponsored by Key Point Credit Union, Next Generation Neighborhood Banking. Tyler Fitzgerald has just been, he's going on a Elliot Ramos-like run here, where he is just hitting the cover off the ball every single at bat. I mean, this guy is just incredible. Who would have thought that, you know, in a season where Marco Luciano was supposed to be the shortstop of the future, and the Giants, they didn't have the confidence in him. I mean, he tried to do it, but his bat was actually doing all right, but he could not field out there. So then they had that big hole there at shortstop to where you had to have Nick Ahmed. And by the way, Nick Ahmed, if we're talking on a Friday morning after that Thursday game in Los Angeles, it almost felt like the baseball gods were talking to us and showing us a sign, and that, yeah, Nick Ahmed's going to hit a home run to go ahead, and it would eventually end up being the winning run. I know Shohei Ohtani hit a homer after he did as well, but Nick Ahmed homers in that game to put the Dodgers ahead in the 8th inning, and it just felt like it was a sign from the heavens that this is a team that needed to go into this trade deadline and be sellers. Now they come back and they answer the bell against the Colorado Rockies. Tyler Fitzgerald was a big part of that, hit two-run home runs. You had Elliot Ramos come in and join the party as well. He was like, everyone else is hitting homers, I want to do this too. He leads the Giants with 15 on the season, and this is a guy that wasn't with this team until May 8th. So you start looking at all of these guys that are contributing to this team that weren't necessarily on the opening day roster and weren't on this team until recently. I mean, we talk about Elliot Ramos, and we all know his date because we've been talking about how he turned into an all-star from the moment that he stepped onto the field on May 8th. But you look back at Tyler Fitzgerald, and his season started with the Giants earlier this year, all the way back in actually he was on the team March 31st. He was with us, and he was with the team for a good portion of it, and would be called up and sent back down. But now he's here, and I think he's going to stay for the rest of the season. I mean, the fact that he's just going out there and hitting the cover off of this ball right now is incredible, and you just see what you get when these young guys do get an opportunity. And I guess that's the question, in that what do you want to see the Giants do moving forward going into this trade deadline? Blake Snell pitches today, game 1 of the doubleheader. And, you know, is this going to be his last start for the Giants? I think that it just depends on which direction you want to go in. But I would love to see what this rotation can be at its full potential. And you see what Kyle Harrison did yesterday, follow that up with Blake Snell, and then with Hayden Birdsong. But then also, when you look at this rotation, it is a little bit crowded. So do you end up moving on from someone? Alex Cobb pitched yesterday in San Jose. He was expected to go 5 innings. He only went 2 innings, gave up, I believe it was three earned runs, needed 50 pitches to go 2 innings yesterday in San Jose. So do you want to see Hayden Birdsong stay in this rotation? I think that in an ideal world, because we've seen, and we were talking in the YouTube chat, I believe it was lifelong fan 07 was pretty much asking about Jordan Hicks, whether Jordan Hicks is going to be in this rotation moving forward. I think that it's a time for Jordan Hicks to go into the bullpen. We'll have to see what they end up doing with him moving forward. But I would love to see Hayden Birdsong in here. I want to see what he can do down this stretch. And you look at Blake Snell and Robbie Ray, but if that was, and you have Alex Cobb coming back at some point, but I would much rather see what these young arms can do in this Giants rotation, especially if they're not going to be a playoff team. They're teetering on this situation right now to where they can go on a run. They can legitimately go on a run if you look at their schedule, because they finish up here with 3 games against the Rockies. If they win both of these, let's just say that they go out and Blake Snell pitches like he's been pitching since he's come back from the IL, and Hayden Birdsong dominates the Rockies again and gets 12 Ks again. Let's just say that is a possibility, and they win these 2 games today. Then that leaves that the Giants have to win 33 games left, or they have to win 33 games of their 55 games remaining, and that is a tall task. That is you're asking them to go 33-22, and that is 11 games over 500. This team has not been a above 500 team all season long, but when you look at the schedule, you can get a little bit optimistic when you see what this Giants team is facing in August, because they have these games against Colorado, then they have the 2 in San Francisco, the last Battle of the Bay in San Francisco against the Oakland Athletics. Then they go to Cincinnati and they play the Reds for 3. Then they have 4 against the Washington Nationals. Come back. It's a long stretch of games, so they're going to need all of their pitchers ready to go. And with this rotation, you just hope that it can get contagious and to where they're competing and going out there and giving you quality starts every single start. And that can be what this rotation can morph into. But you look at after that Washington series, they have Detroit. And then they have a challenging series against the Atlanta Braves, 4, but it's in San Francisco. They did win 2 out of 3 in Atlanta last month. So that's going to be really interesting to see how they can go against that team, and assuming everyone stays healthy. But then you got Oakland, you have the White Sox, and then you finish out the month with the Mariners, Brewers, and then the Marlins. So it is a opportunity for this team to get on a run if they can get this thing rolling. And a lot of that has to do with, we've talked about the pitching rotation and just the level of consistency with the rotation. We can see that, but it remains to be seen what this team can do offensively. They have not been able to string together successful offense consistently all season long. So you like to see, they dropped 11 runs yesterday. You would like to see them follow that up with a 6, 7, 5. I'll take 5, 6, 7 runs today in game 1, and then another 5. So let me get 12 runs out of this Giants team today with the doubleheader. That's what I want to see from this team, but a lot of that has to come from Tyler Fitzgerald. And you look at this Giants lineup today, we'll run through it really quick, but Tyler Fitzgerald, he's hitting 5th today, and that is telling because, he is the hottest bat in all of baseball, definitely on this Giants team, but he is one of the hottest bats in all of baseball right now. He's just hitting for a lot of power that I don't know if a lot of people saw that was part of his game. We all knew that his speed was there, and he'll get extra base hits, but the long ball has really been something with Tyler Fitzgerald over the last week. You just hope that he doesn't get too long ball happy and you just continue to spread the ball to all fields. Doesn't get pull happy, but you love to see what Tyler Fitzgerald is doing. And Bob Melvin, he talked about Tyler Fitzgerald yesterday in that, again, we've seen this before. We've seen it with Luis Matos over that small stretch of games, him getting opportunities. You saw it happen with Elliot Ramos, and now you're seeing it with Tyler Fitzgerald. So this is what Bob Melvin had to say post-game yesterday after Tyler Fitzgerald's 2 home run game.
Yikes. He's got a little Elliot Ramos thing going on right now. So, we've talked about it often. He's just relaxed now. He's getting consistent playing time. There's a ton of ability there. There's power, there's speed. You can play multiple positions. There's a lot to like. And, last year when I saw him on the other side, you just see the athletic ability, and you look up the numbers and the homers and everything he can do, and it was just a matter of giving him a chance to play consistently, and he's showing you what he has to offer right now.
Yeah, you love to see what he can do, what these young guys can do with consistent at-bats in the major leagues, see what they're made of, see what you have, so that when you do get to this trade deadline and it's kind of coming up against it, but you want to see what you have in the organization and whether or not they can take the reins and just run with it, take that opportunity and run with it. And Tyler Fitzgerald has definitely done that to this point. But Tyler Fitzgerald spoke yesterday. Obviously, you got to hear from Tyler Fitzgerald, the story of the Giants offense. 2 home runs yesterday, 4 RBIs. And if it wasn't for just the scorcher of home runs, I mean, it overshadowed what Jorge Soler did. Jorge Soler had probably his best game as a Giant yesterday, and they'll have to lean on him again today. He's hitting leadoff today against Ryan Feltner, and if everyone remembers how that matchup went last time, yeah, Jorge Soler hit the longest home run in Major League Baseball at Coors Field, 478, the last time that he went against Feltner last Sunday. So that's going to be another jumping off point. And Jorge Soler, hey, just a little tease to Diamond Notes coming up a little bit later. Maybe he's the X factor of this whole thing. So we'll have to see about that. But Tyler Fitzgerald, he was speaking yesterday, and apparently, everyone's talking about the 7 home runs in 8 games hasn't happened since Barry Bonds in April of 2004. Well, he talked to the home run king yesterday, and maybe he channeled some of that conversation into his ABs late in the game. So Tyler Fitzgerald talks about talking to the home run king before the game.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit earlier. He didn't really mention it too much, but this is, Barry usually keeps to himself for the most part, but he came up and said hi to me today, which was pretty cool. So I thought that was pretty awesome, but hopefully we'll get some more work down the road.
Yeah, so Barry Bonds just said hi to him, and that's all it took. He just his magic, his home run power just rubbed off on Tyler Fitzgerald, and he was able to hit those 2 home runs and just continue this hot streak of hitting for the Giants. Raph, let's go ahead and go down to cut P. I'm gonna skip over N. Let's go to cut P. Let me know when you have it ready, Raph. But Tyler Fitzgerald pretty much talks about the clubhouse culture, because once you get to this point in the season, when you're talking about the trade deadline and who can potentially be there, I mean, you hear the rumblings and they are your teammates, right? I mean, you never want to see your teammate, someone that you've been out there battling with all 105 games into this point in the season. You don't want to see them leave, right? So he was talking about pretty much just how the clubhouse culture is right now, knowing that the trade deadline is coming up. So this was Tyler Fitzgerald yesterday post game talking about the impending trade deadline.
Yeah, everything's great. We have a lot of ball left. We can come out here and just compete every day. Each day is a new opportunity, but for me personally, I come in here ready to work, keep my head down. I don't really. It's hard to not know what our record is, but at the same time, it's not in the back of my head 24/7. So the thing I can do is keep my head down, keep working, and trying to play my best ball. And I know that's what everybody on the team is doing, and hopefully we can get on a little streak here.
Yeah, hopefully they can get on a little streak here, and they can get some of these gettable games against the Colorado Rockies. Again, the 2 games today, doubleheader, the true doubleheader, 18 innings against the Colorado Rockies. They dropped 11 on them yesterday, and Feltner, he actually pitched pretty well in that outing. Only gave up two earned runs in 7 innings. Did take the L, a rough L for him last Sunday for the Giants, or for the Rockies rather. But so yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how the Rockies can bounce back. I mean, 11th spot, that's not going to sit well with you, but this is a Giants team that they are starting to swing the bat a little bit better. You just want to see that it is going to remain a constant, because that has been my biggest gripe with the Giants in this season, is that there has not been a level of consistency throughout this point. So when you start looking at, well, what they need to do and how many wins they need to have, and it's 35 wins of the remaining 57. So when you see the amount of wins that they have to get in the amount of games that remain, and they haven't won 4 games in a row since the end of May, when they had that 1 game against the Dodgers, and they swept the Rockies. So again, the Rockies can be tied to all of this. And then they went on that incredible run of comeback games. They blew the first game in Pittsburgh, but then they went ahead and had incredible comebacks against the Pirates and the Mets. So that was the last time that they won four games in a row, and it was within a 2-week span where they lost that game. I believe it was on a Monday or Tuesday. It was early in the week that they lost to the Pittsburgh Pirates. So they had 2 4-game winning streaks in the span of 2 weeks. And that was it. So you'd like to see the Giants string together solid ABs, solid pitching outings, and just continue to have consistency, because again, that is something that has eluded this Giants team to this point of the season. But we're going to go ahead and take one last break really quick here and get you ready for the Giants and the Rockies in the doubleheader. Again, 18 innings today. You have game 1 with Blake Snell on the mound, Hayden Birdsong in game 2. These are games that this Giants team needs to get on a run going into the trade deadline. So we will continue to talk and give you the lineup coming up. We gave you a little bit there with Jorge Soler batting leadoff. That's no surprise, but Tyler Fitzgerald hitting in the 5 spot. We'll give you the full lineup coming up next. You're listening to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
show built for the orange and black family. This is Giants Warm-Up on KNBR, the sports leader.
All right, welcome back to the Giants Warm-Up Show. We get you ready for first pitch at 4:05, first game of the doubleheader. 18 innings today. Forgetting going out to the yard. Bring a Red Bull. It's going to be a long day, but a lot of fun when you're out at the ballpark. So 18 innings of baseball today, a true doubleheader. I don't know if I've ever attended a true doubleheader, Raph. Have you ever attended a true doubleheader?
God, no. I wish I have. I mean, that sounds like fun. Boy, 18 innings of baseball. Count me in.
I remember I went to my first doubleheader. I think that I went to was post-pandemic, but that was when they were doing the 7 innings doubleheader, and I was actually at the Coliseum. I think it was the A's and the Twins were playing a doubleheader of some sort, and I went there with my uncle. But I would love to one day experience the grueling of a 18 inning affair between two baseball teams. So let's go ahead and get to the standings update. We'll take one last break before the official pregame starts at 3:05, and then first pitch 4:05 of that game 1. But let's go to the standings update sponsored by Alameda County Probation Department. Visit joinacpd.org today for a career that matters. When you look to the NL West, the Dodgers are still sitting firmly atop the West with 62-43 record. The Padres, who have actually gone on a little bit of a heater here, have won 6 in a row. Winners of 6 in a row, 56-50 is their record, 6.5 games behind the Dodgers. And you have the Diamondbacks 1 game behind the Padres, 7.5 behind the Dodgers at 54-50. Dodgers or Giants slot in right there at 50-55. They are about 4.5 behind the Arizona Diamondbacks in the West, and the Rockies are all the way at the bottom, 38-66. But when you look to the wild card, because that is where the action is and where the Giants are going to slot into things, the New York Mets have won 5 in a row, so they have kind of separated themselves, or not necessarily separated themselves, but they have vaulted over the Atlanta Braves. They have that series against the Braves this weekend, so they have won 5 in a row, won yesterday, and the Mets are 55-48. The Braves sitting in that number 2 wild card spot, 54-48. So the Mets are up half a game on the Braves, and the Padres slot in there tied, or I guess not necessarily tied, but they're right behind the Braves, 56-50. And everyone else that is in the playoff mix, you have the Arizona Diamondbacks. The St. Louis Cardinals have finally fallen out of it, and I think that they'll continue to go down. I don't know how they have stuck around for as long as they have. They need pitching, but their run differential, when you look at everyone else outside of the Pirates and the Giants, just they have the most negative run differential at minus 38 of all of these playoff teams. You have the Pirates right there, right behind the Cardinals. You have the Reds. And then you have the Giants with the Cubs bringing up the rear, and the Nationals, if you want to include the Nationals in that mix. But the Nationals are 7 games out of that final spot, and the Giants 5.5 games back of that final spot with the San Diego Padres. A lot of big games coming up for the Giants with the Padres in September. That could be telling of how everything goes. So let's take one final break. And we'll come back and get you the lineups here as the Giants get ready for game 1 of this doubleheader, 18 innings. Blake Snell takes the mound. You're listening to the Giants Warm-Up Show on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.